This episode of An Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Anthony. Thank you.
Hello, friends, and welcome to An Unexpected Podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien.
We're coming to you from the Shire of America, the beautiful state of Ohio, in a little village called Amanda.
You know, sometimes I think that people... focus with you. I can't.
What did I do?
It's just, I look up and I'm like ready to talk and start the show, and Lane's just like giving the goofiest look in the world.
That's my smile.
That was just your face, right?
Jeez.
No, what I was going to say is I think people might think that we like fast forward that intro part because we read it so fast.
We do. Well, we've memorized a lot of it.
How fast can we read it? How fast can we read it?
We're
this
like
time?
Ninjas. We redoing this?
Oh my gosh. Anyways.
We're in it.
We're in it, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, after 20, attempts here, I think we're gonna just stick with that.
I like that.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
all about that.
Oh my gosh. This week we are covering Flight to the Fort as a part of our journey through Middle Earth.
And don't miss your connection flight
Thank you.
to the fort.
To the Fort.
Which is weird because it's a car too. So
Right. Actually, this week we have a lot of interesting characters, some history connections as well.
oh
in this
my
chapter.
gosh, a lot of stuff going on.
It's
gonna be our shortest episode yet, guys. So really, don't get too comfortable. Just get the cliff notes, and we're gonna breeze right through it. Right?
Right. We are.
Okay.
We
It's
are.
gonna be about an hour and 10 minutes, and we'll get you out of here.
What did you
Out of
put
here.
in this coffee?
Yeah. So in honor of Mr. Frodo being bulletproof or knife proof or whatever, we are drinking bulletproof coffee. I've never had it before. Ezra's never had it before. So not only did he try Marmite for the first time, he's also trying bulletproof coffee. So it's on this weird keto thing. I don't even know what keto is. I just see people doing a lot. But I heard this idea. It's supposed to make the energy or something for coffee last longer.
Are you
because
kidding
it's
me?
mixed with fats. You put a sizable amount of butter in it and coconut oil.
I'm gonna be up all night.
I know, man. Well, we probably shouldn't have. Well, no. It's good that we drank it now. But I wanted to trial it out for because I drink so many cups of coffee every morning.
Sure.
So many, and I don't feel any effects. And so I'm hoping maybe this will, with one cup, because it's rich, isn't it?
Oh my gosh,
it's almost
dude,
it's like a better cappuccino.
Yeah.
So or I don't know, latte. I don't even know. I don't know what to compare it to. But I'm hoping with maybe one cup of this, we'll do the same as 8 cups of dark roast black.
It's doing it. That's for sure. I'm just a little shy. There's something in it because we are jazzed.
We're ready to go.
I mean, wow.
You have to have all your senses about you when you're dealing with the Black Riders. And
Yes.
if you're drowsy, if you're tired,
Right.
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
And we're not going to be caught with our,
Yeah.
in the
Out in the woods.
yeah.
That's what he's trying to say.
Yep.
Okay, let's dive into quick counsel here. We've
already did it, didn't we?
We kind of already did, but we have a couple things we want to mention. I think in quick counsel that are significant to us.
Yeah.
First of all, surprise.
Yeah. Are you guys shocked?
Surprise.
Fortnite. Not.
Just kidding.
That's right.
We said we were going to be back in a fortnight.
How cool does it feel to be doing this? And for us too, this is, we recorded the last episode last week, and we're back here a week later recording again. We've never done this as.
No, we haven't.
It's the first time we've ever done this, and it feels so good.
Yeah, it does. It's exciting actually, and it is a little strange, but it feels more connected. You had mentioned this.
What's strange about it to you?
Well, the fact that the chapter doesn't feel like it's so far away, right?
Yeah.
Because I can honestly remember a conversation we had 14, less than 14 days ago, 7 days ago now. So
that's what a week is,
right?
I think.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
But anyways, so surprise. We're happy that we can kind of. I think what we're gonna do is possibly continue with the reread every week.
I think so.
So we're gonna have to fix the fortnight farewell to that at the end of the.
What are we gonna say?
I don't know what we're gonna say.
Weekly well wishes.
Wow,
there it is.
You are a slogan master.
Is it really a good skill to have?
Well, we're using it in this podcast. I don't know if you're using it anywhere else in life, but it's really paying off here.
That stinks. I like. Maybe we'll still say it just for the heck of it. We'll put it in parentheses. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
Fortnite farewells. Formerly Fortnite farewells. Oh, there we go.
Now there's another one. So
guys, sorry, this is inside of how we work, and it's You're seeing how the sausage is made.
There it is. Now, another quick announcement, too, that we wanted to kind of, actually just something we wanted to talk about, I think, is the fact that, like, I think we're a little taken back this past couple weeks here, just with, like, the response we've gotten on the podcast, the Facebook page, the group, and on Patreon.
Yeah.
I'm very, like, flabbergasted. I don't know what else to say. Like, because every time I look up, there's more people coming in from around the world listening, sending us by water post emails. Some people just sending us, hey, how's it going? Email. A lot of people chatting in the group. So we're learning stuff every day there. So I think I just wanted to kind of update people on a few things. Well, actually, I had a note here to kind of recap like the involvement. When we first did this, I think we just sat down and thought, we're going to do this for fun, have a good time, and go at it, right?
Right, yes.
And so what's blown me away is that people are not only just listening, because we were like, maybe they'll listen. Maybe.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Maybe we'll make a few friends along the way.
Yeah, that's exactly that was my what I hoped for.
Right. I mean, it was you and I rekindling our friendship, getting back into what we love. And then we've met new friends. We've started like a book club.
Yeah.
People not only have liked the page, but they've gone the extra step and they've reviewed on iTunes or reviewed the Facebook page.
Yep.
And then you've got people sending in their Tolkien stories.
Yep.
Right. Responding to the chapter.
Yep.
Which is awesome.
You heard it in the intro today.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, submitting songs.
We have
people, singing and sending them to us now too, which is pretty cool.
Which is super cool. And then like the next step, which has kind of blown us away even more, is that people are going to Patreon and like supporting us. But you guys have no idea how much that means. It's awesome. And so I got a message from MW Wolf, just kind of saying like, happy to double my pledge while you double the podcasts. And I was sort of like, I sent this to Lane, and I was just like, it's time. Like, there's no more messing around. If people are willing to do that, then you're going to get a response out of us. Just because,
absolutely.
It means a lot, man. It's not something we ever really thought was going to, take that type of direction. But it's just a lot of fun, and we're really enjoying it. So we wanted to give you guys that little update. I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
I'm dumbfounded by by all the positivity. I mean, just all the messages people have sent us, the emails we've received, the shout outs on Instagram, and on Facebook, the participation in the group and the page. It's just unbelievable. I don't know. It blows me away with, what were you going to say?
Well, people are talking to each other on the group. That's
exactly.
A lot of times I dive in there and there's this thread going I have to go back and read 15 different comments because people have gone in and made connections to the chapter, and it honestly helps us go deeper with the text and what have you.
So. Well, I think you said it too, right? I think a lot of podcasts are all about like, this is our show, this is our audience, right? That's never what we wanted. No. That's not how we look at it. That's not what we have. Right. This is our podcast. This is our collective. All of us, our podcast.
That means people listening, everyone.
Our book club, our group, all of us all together, that it grows daily. And that's the really exciting thing, is because we're all learning from each other. We all have cool points of view that we bring. We can all share connections to the stories that, we had never even thought of before. It is so cool. And the other thing too, as I was thinking about this, I've been thinking about this a lot actually lately, is I don't know if I'd be rereading these books right now if it wasn't for our book club. We got into it, like you said, to reconnect with each other, to reconnect with something that we love, and maybe make a few friends along the way. We've done all those things. Right. And now I feel like this drive in me to, like, this accountability to get to know Tolkien better, to take my love for these stories to the next level, to go deeper into the histories, to ask more questions, where before I was like, it's okay, that's fine. Like, I don't need to know all the details behind it. And still, I feel that way about like some things. And I still am. I am, I think. I'm opening up a little bit. I'm getting a little more adventurous. I'm leaving, the doilies at home, I guess.
Well, you're starting to wonder what's out there in the white spaces.
Yeah, in the white spaces.
Right? You're starting to say, hey, I wonder what's out there.
It's just that time of year, I think. You know, I need to get out. Need to get out of the Shire. And so anyway, but I think a lot of that has to do with this book club we have going on, and it's pushing me in a direction I love, and it's cool. Now Goldberry and I are talking about like because Sarah wants to like read the books. She's never read the books before.
Yeah. Wow.
So with this happening and me reading more often, she wants to join in too. So we're gonna find a way to do that together, which is amazing. So a lot of cool things happening, man.
That's awesome.
A lot of cool things happening.
That's really cool. Well, that kind of leads me into just another update, I guess, is that we have two things going on. We wanted to kind of update you since we've done this little surprise here, and we're gonna continue once a week with the reread. We are then shifting the histories of Middle Earth, sort of a Hobbit's guide.
Yeah, we're calling it Hobbit's Guide to the Histories of Middle Earth.
Yeah,
because Ezra and I are both we still have a lot to learn. We've never presented ourselves as Tolkien experts.
No.
Right?
No.
We're definitely not. We are just hardcore fans that love the stories and know that we have a lot to learn still. And so we want to take that to the next level and really dig into Tolkien's other works that inform this story that we have before us right now. And we want to do that in a show format, right?
Yeah, we do. And basically kind of like it's a little bit of a risk. We're stepping back into some text that you and I have kind of looked at a little bit, but not really actually
a vague knowledge.
Yeah, but we haven't dove in there really,
right?
Because it is intimidating and there's a lot of stuff going on. So we wanted to say that here with you guys, so that way if you are kind of on the fence about I don't know if I want to get into the histories or not, that's okay. The podcast is going to stay. We get the histories. Like this chapter has a bunch of those connections in there.
Totally.
We learn a lot about Glorfindel that I didn't know about until we got into this chapter, and I was like, "Holy smokes!"
Yep.
I've always loved him, but I didn't know how much I loved him.
Glorfindel. Ezra's been waiting to shout that for like
I'll be
months now, man.
Multiple times. I'm getting a shirt too that just says Glorfindel
with a ton of O's.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
So,
cool.
But an update there on Patreon, we're going to make that new tier where you guys can go on there and you guys can grab a T-shirt. So I'm in full faith just going to go ahead and say, working with Traxler on that, you guys can hop into the $10 tier and get that going. Traxler Brothers.
Yeah.
So big shout out to them. They're working with me on a way in which we can get that done and get you guys some shirts or something, get like a logo, get something going.
And they're actually a local company. They don't just do shirts, they do embroidery, they do a bunch of woodwork, Ezra was even telling me.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about them guys is they match T-shirts purchased with giving shirts to like homeless shelters and churches. And so it's kind of like a Tom's model thing where what you buy, they match that with a donation to someone who needs a shirt on their back.
Right.
So it's pretty awesome.
They do good work
to partner with a company like that. So we're excited about that too.
Yep, we're
good
definitely
people.
excited with that.
Good people. So
okay.
Also want to thank Christine for that song real quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At the beginning, that was amazing. Cool. That's the first submission we've had of someone actually singing. I mean, did she do it as well as me? Yeah,
yes,
she did. Way better. So that was really cool to hear someone's voice, singing a song from Tolkien.
Heck yeah.
Pretty awesome.
If you guys have
Beautiful.
any more of those, you can either send the audio file or call the voicemail, whatever works best for you, I guess. Last update there on the histories and what we're going to be doing. We're going to read the three. We're going to read that.
The Great Tales.
The Great Tales. Yeah. Each book this summer. So July, you'll have an episode.
That's right.
Comes up
Baron
July.
and Luthien.
August.
Yep. And then August is Children of Húrin.
Good.
And then in September, we'll be reading The Fall of Gondolin.
Right, which will be coming out at the end of August, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
August 30th.
We'll read those. We'll post reviews there. Now, once that's done, if you're asking, well, when are we going to get it back into the old? We're going to start with the Lost Tales, I think. We're going to just kind of read through that.
Yeah.
Pick a story or two.
This is when we finish the trilogy, right?
Right. Once we finish the trilogy,
Yes.
We'll go backwards and we'll start kind of from the beginning of the history. So just take our time and work through it. But I think it makes it a little bit more valuable when you go to Patreon. It's like you're supporting Lane and I, and then you're also getting some access.
You're getting some cool stuff for yourself,
cool stuff.
mostly. I mean, that's a lot of what that's going to be. Going for. So
awesome, guys. Thank you so much. What do we have next here?
Well, there's a connection to something on Patreon. So one of our episodes dealt with dreams that Ezra and I have had. We both had some pretty wicked, weird dreams.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you all have too. That if you ever want to share them, you have our message inbox. You can send it to us.
Yeah.
But Ephraim Menchaca listened to this episode and he had a connection to Ezra's dream. Do you want me to read this?
Please read
Okay.
it.
This was like months ago. And we were like, I was like, Ez, did you ever read
I didn't
that
get a chance to see it, yeah.
interpretation of your dream? He was like, no. So for the dream, you'll have to go listen to that on Patreon. But here's Ephraim's interpretation. He said, for Ezra's dream, him being late signified him missing a chance in life, a chance he might be presented with now, but can't identify with because he isn't the same person anymore. That's why he brought up the ex later on. He knows. I bet she was hot, he says. But the dream whale actually ties in because, like Jonah in the Bible, and the dream whale is referring to a dream I've had my whole life, the whale doesn't kill him, but gives him a second chance to follow God's will. Ezra's whale is another chance at something else. Basically, it all says, this is not all for you. You got a lot more coming. Get ready for a new opportunity.
Dude, this just...
Are you getting chills down your spine,
This is crazy, man. I've not...
So how weird, too, that my dream tied into yours.
Right, yeah.
Oh.
Dude, this is so cool. I don't think I'm not going to give anything away about our dreams because they're
Yeah.
pretty wacky and crazy. But
Well, mine's actually a kid's book, too.
yeah,
That I'm
yours is.
writing.
Right.
So, yeah.
That is so unreal. I'm glad you read that.
That's pretty cool, huh?
That's
So
pretty,
thanks, Ephraim. That's
I'm gonna have to
pretty
think.
awesome.
I'm gonna have to dwell and think on that for a little
You
while.
have to get back
so.
to him. Tell him
Yeah.
if he hit any nails on the
Yeah,
head.
I think he did. Okay, let's move on. Let's get out of quick counsel.
Drop some
Longest
Eves.
one yet. Dropping Eves. What do we got?
Well, our buddy Mike Charles did some spying for us, and I think this came out on Wednesday. But there were a couple of sources that reveal that Peter Jackson will not be involved. Am I topping out?
No, you're
With
good.
the Amazon TV show. PJ's out.
Wow, best news we've had yet. Just kidding.
I mean, it depends on what you wanted
I'm
out of
just
these.
kidding.
Well, it depends on what you wanted out of the
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
If you wanted it to be a perfect tie-in to the films, you're probably going to be disappointed. If you wanted something new from a different perspective, from a different point of view, from someone else at the helm, you might see this as welcome news. You know, something that, hey, okay,
Yeah.
I love Peter Jackson, but, you know, that's okay. I would like to see it through someone else's eyes. He doesn't want to return to Middle Earth. And I you know, honestly, I think that's very respectable. Amazon reportedly really wanted him, you know, so I'm guessing that he could have made whatever kind of money from it he wanted.
Yeah.
But he, you know, and I think he also wants to do other things. But how respectful and honorable is it to say, I could go do this, make a ton of money, I've done a good job at it, but I think my time's done there. I want to do some other things.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, good for him.
That also tells me that maybe his heart wouldn't be totally in it, and that's a good thing for us. We don't want half-hearted interpretation of Tolkien. That's not what we want.
No, yeah.
So anyway, that's pretty much it for the most part. So what does that mean? You know, a new vision coming. So many questions we have. You even brought up last week. Is it really going to be a show about Aragorn's life, young life?
Yeah.
Is that just a feeler they're putting out there to see the response and then maybe guide them in a direction? Dude, I honestly that didn't cross my mind when I was reading all these articles, probably because I'm just naive.
Well,
but now
no.
it's all I can think about.
Yeah, right.
All
Yeah.
I'm thinking about now is it really going to be about Aragorn? Is it going to take a different direction? Is that all just to throw us off? Now I don't know what to think. I don't know, Ez. I don't know. Was the young Aragorn thing tied into Peter Jackson being involved? I don't know.
You don't know. That's okay though. I think it's more room for us to speculate and stuff. I think it's still looking like that may be the direction that they go. But
do they tie it into the Fall of Gondolin with the book release and just make a show about that?
That'd be crazy.
Why don't they?
That'd be crazy if they went back to first age stuff. That'd be that'd be something.
Yeah, it would be.
So
You said it.
I'm down.
So that's pretty much all we have for that. The Tolkien biopic. Tell us your thoughts too. Also, going back to that, tell us your thoughts about the show. We've heard a lot of cool things. It's fun to just kind of put that on Facebook.
And as you guys find news, please in the group, you know,
Yes.
that is so helpful if you see things because there's just so much out there. It's difficult to kind of go sift through it all. So
Exactly.
Lane does a great job with that, and you guys are really helping out on the group by posting in there.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for that, Mike, too, pointing us in the right direction. Old Boromir, his horn never goes amiss. The Tolkien biopic entitled Tolkien, still in post-production. Don't know when it's coming out. Still don't know where we're going to eat.
But we will mention it every episode until we do.
We will.
Okay.
Because, gosh darn it, I think we kind of brush over it. I want this film out. I want it out.
Okay. Sarah
has been watching a lot of Downton Abbey, and I've been sitting in with her. And man, I tell you what, dude, all I can think about is because they're in the World War I stuff. All I can think about was Tolkien's experience. They have all these soldiers with, PTSD, and I'm thinking the horrors that they saw, the terrible things that they saw, and how this informed Tolkien's creation of Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, the overall theme of these stories being death and loss and how to deal with that, and all the stuff that he lost and dealt with himself. It's I can't wait to see this movie. So
yeah, I'm with you.
yeah. In other corners of Middle Earth, so Ezra's "Where Are You in Middle Earth Right Now" is something that we put up on Facebook, and got a lot of responses. It was pretty exciting, pretty surprising. We're all in different places, but very, very interesting to see.
Well, and I was just thinking, I just wanted to kind of see where their headspace was.
Yes,
we had the
right.
poll going on.
Not literally.
Yeah.
So I would like to read through some of these because they're hilarious. And I don't know if you've seen them all. Have you?
No, I haven't seen them all, but I've seen some of them.
So Christopher Michael said it's 94 with high humidity. I'm in Mordor. Sean Ketchian, Shire, smoking pipeweed and joining in post-academic revelry. It's booming out, missing fireworks. However, there's a strong food smell mingling with the sweet natural countryside around us. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Matt Brady said Isengard. Isengard. I think that might be the only thing he's familiar with Lord of the Rings, but hey, that's cool. I like it. He's an Isengard. He's probably taking some hobbits there. Jim SP said, small village in the kingdom of Rohan.
Nice.
At least at the time of this post, I was on a run through some smaller neighborhoods with large plots of land. At this very moment, most likely Saruman's Isengard, since we're all using technology, Tolkien's biggest no-no. Wow. We talked about that too.
We have, yeah.
Yeah. Peter Furicchia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In northern Pennsylvania, it's cold, so I guess Moria. I would imagine it would be cool under those mountains. Beautiful. And we've had some cool weather here. It's been pretty enjoyable. I love it. Tyler Boots Road said downtown Portland, basically enlarged Hobbiton. So Matt Brady could actually probably speak to that. Christine Beanie Clements, who you heard her singing, she said Rivendell for sure. She's a little ahead of us in the journey.
Makes sense.
She's there.
Yeah.
Stacy Woodrow, in Mount Doom, wishing it were the Grey Havens. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Well,
hope you get there.
Yeah, really.
We're headed. Well, we're kind of headed towards Mordor, so don't jump on our backs.
Yeah,
no, that's right. Get back to the Shire. Do it, girl. Jeremy Price said, that scene in The Return of the King when Frodo and Sam are lying on the rocks of Mount Doom as lava is flowing down the side. They feel accomplished from destroying the ring, but know they face the inevitable fate of death due to exhaustion. That's how I feel considering I've been outside in 100-plus degree weather working. I am in Mount Doom, living a similar hell to both Frodo and Sam, only I don't have eagles to save me. Wow. Some dark places that we're coming from. This is amazing. Tish Munson, I'm in Bree. It's summer in Maine, and there's lots of tourists, strangers from far lands, either passing through or wanting to experience the tranquility of the nearby Shire. Isn't this awesome, dude?
Oh, yeah.
These are so good. James West, I wish I could be in Isengard hanging out with Saruman/Christopher Lee, my favorite character and the greatest actor ever.
Yep.
I think Saruman would actually put him to work and do some whipping, but that's awesome that he, that love for Christopher Lee is really admirable. Hannah Lee, I'm in the Shire, eating dinner by the fire, watching the birds out the window. Definitely not at work, trying to finish up for the day. Michael Upshaw, just got back from date night where we had several frothy drinks. I'm definitely at Crick Hollow. You didn't miss the Golden Perch.
No. Yeah.
Right? I don't know where that was.
Yeah, it was.
Aaron Segura said, the Dead Marshes? It's hot and humid in Cajun country. Bobby Ray said, without a doubt, Rivendell. Just the sheer beauty of the countryside I live and work in reminds me of Rivendell.
Yep.
Bobby's awesome. I love Bobby.
Yep.
Ruth Paget, Rivendell for me too. Enjoying the last lovely evening before the heat hits again in Indy. A bit of a breeze. I think the trees are talking. John Ring. Perfect name.
Yeah.
For this group.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have walked with him many times, wise one. I don't know. Is that cryptic? Is there something hidden there?
Wow.
I'm not sure.
Okay. It's cool.
Very cool. Cindy Baxter Kirk. Yes, Rivendell, the luxury spa of Middle Earth. Pretty much, dude.
Yeah.
Or the retirement home.
Right.
Caradris. Selena Monroe said, Caradris, it's wintertime in New Zealand. Currently 5 degrees Celsius where I live.
Jeez.
Pretty cool. I'm actually sporting my All Blacks hat right now.
You are?
Because the All Blacks are taking on France this weekend. Let's go
Go
get
team.
it. Let's
Go
get
team.
it, baby. Emma Rose Kolk, I'm going to visit my parents in hometown next week for the first time since Christmas, so I'm mentally in the Shire at the moment, stuffing my face with good food while looking out into a well-tended garden. Then we've got Thomas Stepchinsky. In the heart of Mordor, I'm a teacher like Ezra and Lane at the moment. I'm surrounded by a bunch of horrible little orcs at the age of 8. That was us a while ago.
Wow.
A couple weeks ago. Elodie Boution. The Shire, always the Shire. All I do is cooking, eating the cooked stuff, and walks. That's beautiful. And
awesome.
then Tara Lynn said, I'm hunting mushrooms in the Shire, and posted a nice picture of some lovely mushrooms.
What's she hunting with?
Maybe like a shotgun.
Dude,
What do you shoot those
that takes
mushrooms
me back
with?
to, yeah, you know.
An axe?
I'll never forget when you asked that.
I know, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so that's
Okay.
where they are, my man.
That's great.
I'm sorry that took so long, but I thought it was worth reading.
No, yeah, the trees are talking, man.
That's right.
That's
are.
great.
Ooh, I love it. Also feels like we're having a conversation with you guys when we read that kind of stuff. too.
Yeah, it really does.
We haven't done it for a while. So,
Yeah.
poll results, and then we're done with our drop and eaves. Chapter 11 in the books. Are you glad to be back to ring business or sad that the side adventures are behind us? Let's go to Mordor with 77% of the votes. And Old Man Willow, Tom, I'm going to miss you, side adventures, 23%. So I think for it's unanimous. Well, not unanimous, but majority. We're ready to plot on ahead.
Ready to push on, and it makes a lot of sense. We've got a heavy burden on us.
Yeah, we do.
You know,
Yeah,
and we need to.
We need to
get
figure
rid
out
of
what's going on.
Yeah, we got a lot to do with this. So I mean, that leads us right into the reread.
Pretty perfect.
This week, and Flight to the Forward, guys.
Yeah.
It's cool that we're doing when you do the reread. Like, I now understand that title chapter.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Much better. So,
right. And in the movies, it feels like a quick flight. Like,
sure.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe a few hours.
It's very different.
It's very different.
Yeah.
It's a slow flight. It's more of a plight almost than a flight, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, let's dive into this. We got some stuff for recap, though, before we get there.
We do.
We got a lot of stuff for recap,
Man.
actually. And this is good. This is what makes it a club, guys. Don't
That's
forget,
right.
this is key. So let's see here. Michael Upshaw, right?
Yep.
So this is pretty neat. I thought this was interesting. I hadn't put much thought. So I think the question we were just asking about last chapter, right?
Yeah, this was just the thread we posted the episode, and this was
And
the
the thread,
thread.
right.
James West said, awesome, I can't wait to hear it. He was excited. And then Michael posted some reaction
Right. to basically Aragorn, right? And the idea that the difference between the book and the movie. And so, the more that I think about it, I really like book Aragorn better. He has this calm confidence that can inspire those around him. He undoubtedly has the respect of the Rangers and the Elves of the North, has proven himself in both Gondor and Rohan, and has likely performed great deeds in the East and the South. Later, when he acts with our friend Boromir, and we learn of his intentions, I can see his cool confidence come out again. And then in contrast, right, the movie Aragorn is just right in comparison.
Yeah.
And so it is interesting. I think that's. I've been thinking that myself, just almost more experience than. Not that they did a terrible job in the movie, but just like
It was just a different
really-
angle. They played a different
Yeah.
angle. It was like this reluctant hero in the films and in the books. It's more like Aragorn knows he has a deep sense of purpose, right? You're right. He almost feels much older in the books.
Yeah.
More experienced, more ready to rise to the challenge, kind of.
Well, that's the thing too. He's not like that reluctance we
Yeah.
talked about, right?
Yeah.
Is he's ready? He even says in this chapter too that staying in Rivendell, in this place of peace,
Yeah.
is not his fate. That's not his destiny.
That's right.
So-
though he wishes it was, though he would like that.
Right, but he
Yeah.
knows that it's not.
It's not, right,
And so,
exactly.
okay, and he says, and speaking of different characterizations, how did Radagast get pegged as some kooky halfwit? Was it just PJ's, movie, or did that come from somewhere else? I get that Saruman considered him a fool, but that is one of the Istari, one Istari to another, and Saruman was proud to begin with. Radagast is still an Istari and a demigod. For goodness sakes, I hope I'm not the only one who views Radagast as more of a competent and keen druid, servant of Yavanna and the protector of plants, animals, and lesser life forms in Middle-earth. And to be honest with you, I 100% agree. Like, I have always liked Radagast. I've always thought that I think it's The Hobbit, right? I think they have a little. Is it the Hobbit or is it? Yeah, I think so. They have a little stop off. And I've always thought it was kind of mysterious, right? Who is that other wizard? You know what I mean? I'm always like, what? You know, where did he go? Where's Gandalf going? You know, in the Hobbit and things. So, I don't think he is a half-wit at all. Right. And I actually think it would have been interesting to see him interact with, you know, the White Council and things like that. That would have been kind of neat. Yeah. You know. So, what do you think? I mean,
no, he touched on points that I think I brought up my uncle last week. I can't totally remember. Okay. But my Uncle Joe is the one that we went to, Joe Hoffert. We went to, the first time I ever saw the movies, it's because he was like, hey, we should all go. And so me and my dad and my cousin Press and my Uncle Scott, we all went and watched. And so he was my foray into like Middle Earth. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we would have conversations to this day. We still talk about it. You know, like we talk about, you know, where the Hobbit went wrong or what we loved about Lord of the Rings. And he brought up these 2 points. He always said they didn't necessarily do Aragorn right. Like he's this reluctant, you know, and I think he goes on, Michael goes on to say, you know, Viggo was amazing and Viggo was amazing. I mean, don't mistake me. Like the Aragorn of the movies, I love. Sure. I love, because I think it's a piece of the kaleidoscope of Aragorn. Yeah. I think that's one of those factions that self-doubt, that having to reckon with your past bit, and it was just kind of magnified for the films because I think it's a more dramatic journey, I guess. You know what I mean? To come, or I don't know, in the amount of time, in the format they had, it was more dramatic. Yeah, it worked best. Sure. But yeah, he always brought that up. He's like, Aragorn wasn't quite right. He had a sense of confidence, or you know, they missed this part or put this somewhere else. And then he brought up Radagast too. He was like, I don't get it. He's like this nutty professor type guy, and I think really Peter Jackson loved Sylvester McCoy. Okay, and he was a huge Doctor Who fan, and Sylvester McCoy was a Doctor Who. And I think maybe he thought if I could work him in, and well, maybe we can make him Radagast, and he can be kind of, you know, let him play with this comedic genius, and so I think maybe that's part of where it came from. I don't totally know, but I agree. You know,
well, real quick, I'll say, you know, I think the point is that among the Astari, right, maybe being looked down, but then that's why I was kind of like, what would the point of view be like if he was approached by like if a Hobbit, you know, comes across him, or you know, the elves, how do they look upon him? You know, I think it would be very different. So,
yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I agree. Yeah.
Okay, let's get through some more of these here. We've got Jim just talking about Aragorn and Faramir. I thought were the two characters you know, I liked much more in the books. Of course, Viggo did such a good job in his role. You know, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, he was amazing.
You already mentioned Michael's follow-up comment there, right? Let's see, what else do we have?
We have Elle Eastwood.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. She just pointed out a moment that we kind of skipped over that was profound to her. So this was kind of cool. Oh yeah. I like this because, you know, there are certain stuff. There are things that in the chapter that stick out to us, and that, you know, we obviously talk about them, but there are things that were profound to you that we might not have caught, and that we missed, you know, bringing out. And so this is cool. She stuck up for her a moment that she really loved that we didn't really say much about. So she said, just finished the latest episode. It was very good company while dealing with a drain emergency in my bathroom, and I especially enjoy the sound effects. I am not in my bathroom, trying my best to not step in sewage water. I am outside by a fire, watching the stars, listening to the stories about Middle Earth. Sounds like self-talk I do. Yep. Anyway, they mentioned the paragraphs describing how things actually worked out well for Butterbur, but they missed one of my favorite lines, which is about how the ponies missed out on a dangerous adventure and ended up having a good life in Bree, where they had to work, but they never made it to Rivendell. I don't know. It's just something about that line that gets to me every time. It reminds me of the Fox line, but this one is somehow more powerful. So she said, anyone else feel that way, or do you have any other lines like that? So she's kind of, you know, opening up. What other kind of moments do you make connections with too, or just the way lines are written? Yeah, I thought it was really cool.
Well, it takes you, you know, that line, especially during a reread, right? When you look back on that, you know, it's just like, to think of the journey that they missed, you know what I mean? And is that a good thing, a bad thing? They lived at these great lives in Bree and were taken care of and stuff, you know, but never made it.
It's that butterfly effect, right? You know, if one thing changes.
To Rivendell.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So I love that. And honestly, the moment with the fox, I had never caught before. It's only because of this reread that I went through. So it's interesting too. How many times can you read these books and catch new things every time? That's another
Right.
beautiful thing about it is you never, I don't know if you can ever be a master of these books.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, which is the beautiful part about it. So
Absolutely. Okay. So
what are we 3 hours in already?
I think we are. Yeah, we are. So I think and this is a long chapter too. So
Oh man, it's
great.
Yeah, we're gonna be pushing it.
That's okay. All right. So our summary: when Frodo came to, he still had the ring. Much to his relief, he's glad that he does. And
no kidding.
Because we had just had the the Black Riders coming through the shadows, and he decides to put that ring on.
Yep.
And then he's basically suffering from this wound.
Yeah.
Right. And it's believed by Aragorn that the Black Riders are waiting for it to kind of fester, and so it can kind of take control of him in a way, or that it will, he'll die, or they can collect him, I guess, in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But they move through the land. Strider is still guiding them through, right? After several days, they came to a river and crossed the bridge. They found an elf stone, right, which gives them some hope, right? Gives them a little hope. When they turn back towards Rivendell, they meet Glorfindel, who we've talked about a little bit, right? And from there, it's just this. I mean, the flight is increased, right?
Yeah.
So
And maybe that's when the flight starts, I guess, really.
Yeah, we're definitely trying to get to the ford, and we're trying to get
to Rivendell,
get to Rivendell.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's your summary. Let's dive
Who
into
lives
some
in
of the details.
Rivendell? Ez?
I
don't know.
don't know, different people,
Elves, right?
I mean,
For someone who might not know.
oh, you're being serious?
Yeah,
Okay, elves,
yeah.
Sorry.
All right, sorry. Yeah.
So I can never tell with you sometimes.
I know. I can never tell sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So they mentioned a couple times it's the.
You're so worried about time. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, we're good. Yeah,
We're good, right?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe.
We'll be fine.
Let's talk fast.
Let's talk fast. Okay. It's the house of Elrond, though. They talk about this, right?
Yeah.
And so, and I think, that's the safe haven that they're working to get towards. A lot of power there. Just I don't know. It's the power, right, that can stand sort of against, Mordor if need be, right?
Yeah.
So it's where we're gonna convene a great council there here in just a bit. So that is where we're
take
moving towards.
Take some rest too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some, other than Tom's place, which was kind of creepy at moments too. We haven't really had a spot. Bree didn't give us much respite. There haven't been many places where we could, other than farmer maggots, I guess too, but that was brief, where we've been able to stop, recollect everything, and take some real rest.
Yeah.
Before starting another leg. And you brought that up last episode too, how we're gonna have these moments where we have a lot of journeying and then we have a rest.
Yeah.
Have a lot of journeying and then we rest. And you need that. I mean, this is like not only the distances are covering, but the burden that Frodo's bearing, and then in turn all of his friends as well. So so we're building towards that, a moment of, and also further clarity. What's going to happen? Who's, where's our journey after this? Because after this chapter, we're done with book 1.
Yeah.
So there's a new phase coming. There's a new,
Exactly.
New movement to the story.
Yeah, for sure. Now, real quick, just for context, I want to mention that on October 6th, Frodo is actually wounded by the Witch King at Weathertop. Yeah. Okay, so we just kind of talked about that last chapter. October 20th, Frodo crosses the ford, all right, and he's pursued by the Nazgul. So he basically, this is what, 14 days?
Yeah,
this
like
is
you said, a fortnight.
A fortnight, right?
Right.
So it doesn't seem like that in the film, and so I think it's not a fun trip. I mean, they're constantly looking over, their backs. They've actually had an encounter now with the Black Riders,
right?
And so it's definitely serious. And
that's
Frodo's
true.
not doing well.
That's right. That this is their first. At the end of the last chapter, I know we didn't. It was the end, and so and it was kind of a cliffhanger, and then we can talk about it now. But you're right. That was the first confrontation, right? They had caught glimpses of them. They had seen the effects of things the Black Riders had done. But this was the first big interaction with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
a pretty nasty one too. So, and it leaves our hero in a lot of pain.
Absolutely,
a lot of pain.
Yeah, it does.
And scary, so scary that Sam's crying.
Yes,
like Sam's emotional. What's going to happen to my master?
Right. Yep.
That's big.
It is big, actually. And honestly, you can see. So in a way, I want to approach this chapter. It is so big that we are not going to be able to hit every single point. But that's why we have that recap situation where we can basically, we get Lane's laughing because I said it's so big.
No, I don't know. Your words, not mine.
Okay. But the idea is that I want to kind of like, as we comb through this, right, pull out those pieces that were significant to you, and then we'll have people who are listening do that as well and respond on the group and on the page for us. Okay. Because one thing that stands out to me right from the get-go is in this whole chapter, and especially in this first part, is the look on Strider's face. Yeah, he is really taking this serious, and he's very concerned. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
I think once he examines Frodo's wound, he's even more concerned.
Yeah.
He does this thing where he kind of like he whispers a little bit into it, right? He kind of like presses on his
wound. That's right. Yeah.
Which is pretty neat. But
oh my gosh, I forgot about that. That's true.
Yeah, there's so much in this chapter. But as you mentioned though, Sam, at first when he's upset because his master has vanished, right? And Strider takes off for a bit, and Sam pulls out his sword and is basically standing guard over Frodo.
He still doesn't trust him.
He doesn't trust him, but he also got no explanation, and maybe there wasn't time to really explain stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he's basically kind of, waiting for. He doesn't know what he's waiting for.
Yeah.
Why did Aragorn leave? What's going on, and what can he do to kind of help out, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's having those doubts again about Strider. And then as Strider kind of comes back, he says, I'm not a Black Rider, Sam, he said gently, nor in league with them. I've been trying to discover something of their movements. Okay, so he's out kind of scouting and looking out for them. I think he's also a little shocked, too, that they basically don't attack again right away.
Yeah.
And that's before he knows what's going on with that wound.
I kind of have a theory about this.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know when you want me to share it. I can share it any time. Maybe I'll save it. I'll save it for later.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. I love these. I really love them. But yeah, he's out scouting and things, and I think he has his own theory though, doesn't he? Strider's got his own theory as to kind of why.
And that's probably my theory. Yeah, that's probably where I got it from.
Oh, is it?
I think so.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and talk about that real quick, because his theory is that they're waiting for that wound to kind of that's take
funny.
Over. Okay.
I must have forgotten I read that. Yeah. Oh, no, I guess my twist on it, though, is... No. Okay, that's not the part that I was thinking. What I was thinking is, this is interesting, because... So my thoughts are... even though they wounded Frodo that way, why don't they? I mean, they're other than Strider driving him off with the fire and doing his ninja skills, his knight skills.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Why don't they just? They're like most of them are there. Why don't they just come in and they know he's got the ring? Just take the ring.
Okay.
You're there. You could easily overpower them. I'm thinking, get the ring back. Game over.
Okay.
But I think the reason that didn't happen is these Black Riders, and as we see throughout this story and throughout Middle-earth, not just with those who are evil, there is an underestimation of the hobbits. They thought that we don't have to work that hard.
Yeah.
We don't have to try that hard. We don't have to come in and swoop it down and crush them right here. We can stab this little guy, and over time he will bend to our will.
Yeah.
And he'll come to us.
Yeah.
He'll come to us. And that was their biggest mistake.
Yeah.
It could have been game over right here. But they underestimated the strength of the hobbits. And it goes on, when Strider's talking about the wound, and I might be skipping ahead here, but this is just something that's very interesting to think about. He says, your Frodo is made of sterner stuff than I had guessed, though Gandalf hinted that it might prove so. So really, again, the visionary of Gandalf. Everyone else thinks hobbits, Black Riders think, we can stab him, he'll come to us. No big deal. We don't need to worry about these hobbits having the ring. Right. Not a big deal. Gandalf hinted that it might prove so. He is not slain, and I think will resist the evil power of the wound longer than his enemies expect.
Okay.
So this also shows too that this is a wound that can be resisted.
Yeah.
Right? And that obviously these Black Riders didn't know or didn't understand the true strength of hobbits. That he'd be able to last 14 days. That he wouldn't go down without a fight. and that he would slip through their fingers.
Now, let me ask you a question. Is the ability to resist, is that based upon whether you're a hobbit or a man or an elf, or is that based upon
your individual strength?
Your individual, willpower and the goodness of heart and things like that.
I gotta think it's individual, right? Because you've got different individuals from the same race who react differently to that ring.
I would think
right?
so.
Boromir wants to take it. Isildur took it, but Aragorn would never touch it, kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would say it's probably individual.
Even inside of the Astari, you've got, with the wizards, you've got a different approach to these things too. So
maybe they obviously underestimated the strength of hobbits, but even more so, they underestimated the strength of Frodo.
Yeah.
Right. And not even just him, but the companions around him to uplift him and keep him at his strongest to resist this.
Yeah.
Right. You've got Strider who is able to bathe his wound in Kingsfoil.
Yep.
Which helps. Like if he's not there, they're screwed for that reason. You've got his friends who are able to help carry the weight throughout this chapter and
share the load.
That's right.
Yeah.
Put him on Bill the pony. You've got Bill. Bill plays a very important part in this. He's as much a hero as anybody.
I was going to say one of my bigger connections, and I like the way we're doing this more, and that we can.
Sorry, is this messing everything up?
I like that we can kind of jump in a little bit.
Okay.
We won't go clear to the end, but we'll jump in just a little bit there because it is like 2/3 of the way through this chapter where Bill finds paths.
Yeah.
That I honestly think could be every little bit helps here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
right there.
Gets them that much closer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's unreal. Yeah. And find paths that they maybe couldn't have seen. Like it just had a knack for leading them in a way which helped with. It was more about the bearing of Frodo on him and making sure that like he wasn't being rocked a whole lot or being jarred and things like that. Just had a real steady, way about him, I guess. So. Anyways,
so sorry, but it's just interesting how that was their plan, right? Their plan was to get Frodo to come to them, but the reason that didn't work is they underestimated his his strength. So pretty cool. I don't know. It's awesome.
No, it is. Okay. Now, so here in the beginning, before they set out from Weathertop, right? They keep the fire going.
Yep.
Right. Keep that fire going. Yep. He starts to kind of talk a little. There seems to have been 5 of the enemy. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So he's kind of figuring that out, that there are 5. Because you asked me the question before we started about Crick Hollow.
I wasn't sure on the time frame with that.
With the dream, Frodo's dream, and then Crick Hollow. Is that happening at the same time?
Yeah, the concurrent,
is that a sign that there are writers? It does one of two things, right? It either shows us that there are more than one.
Yes.
There's more than one writer, and there's multiple, or if we don't catch on to that right away, we're thinking, boy, these things can go from here to there very quickly, and it makes them that much more scary and sort of ominous. Yeah.
Yep.
So
and reading for the first time, you wouldn't necessarily know.
No, right?
You
exactly.
Don't know. So it's just kind of an interesting thought, huh?
Yeah. So they've been drawn off for a time, but I fear, but not far. He fears, right? So I think Aragorn's even kind of deciding what to do here. He doesn't really know where to go. He knows that they can't stay,
right,
or they will come again,
right.
And so, leaving is better than staying. Yeah. Right? That's all he can really come to that conclusion. You got to press on.
And this is going to sound really morbid, but like Frodo being injured, and the way he's injured is almost harder than like if one of them died, because it's this burden that they, on top of everything else, they have to carry and try and fight along the way, and it slows them down considerably. Like you were talking about last chapter, he already said how long it would take just him to get to Rivendell.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't Strider make a point to say exactly?
Like yeah.
And so now they're going with the ring bearer injured.
Yeah.
And through terrain that they might have to take blaze some new trails to.
Well, the hobbits aren't used to this.
Right. To avoid the black riders that are right around them. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that piece I was mentioning before, where Aragorn kind of says some things over top of the wound, he sat down on the ground, taking the dagger hilt, laid it on his knees. So first he gets that, the hilt, right, which disappears, and he kind of learns that it's a blade of the enemy, right? That's struck him. Oh, they find the cloak too. They find that black cloak that had
the piece that had come off.
Right.
That's right.
Had kind of come off.
Was it the whole cloak or was it a piece?
I think it was the whole
cloak.
And but you could see the knife mark You could see where Frodo had lashed out and kind of, stabbed.
Yes.
Right? It didn't do much, more than just basically kind of resist.
Right.
Like it showed that they were resisting and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think another thing that we have here with Frodo and let me just continue reading here. Taking the dagger hilt, laid it on his knees, and he sang over it a slow song in a strange tongue. Then, setting it aside, he turned to Frodo and in a soft tone spoke words the others could not catch. From the pouch at his belt, he drew out the long leaves of a plant.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you had already mentioned the effects that plant had on everybody else, was wild. I think it was, they all felt kind of refreshed and things. And he talks about the properties of it a little bit, right? And he, was it that plant or did he, that was the plant he had been walking for days to kind of find, right? Or not days, but he had been walking out a ways to kind of find,
yes.
right?
Athelas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, okay, cool.
Something interesting too that we need to go back and talk about is that like the dreaming that he kind of went in and out of.
Yeah.
Right? He couldn't get sleep. He felt this deadly chill. How many times did we see cold, chill, something to deal with?
That's a good question.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're talking.
Sorry, the fire died down there because there's buffering even in Middle Earth. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what
Okay, all right.
Although I do need actually some, I could use some juice if you don't mind. Can I steal the power cable back?
Oh, absolutely. I thought you meant literal juice. I was like, I think we have orange.
I think we have orange.
Do that.
No, we're kind of sharing a power cable here. Yeah. Oh, goodness. But, so the, what was I talking about there for a second?
You had your hand raised.
Oh, I have my hand raised. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. You were talking about the cold and the chill, right? And,
Yeah.
and how that was, you kept seeing that, right?
Yeah.
I kept seeing that, though, attached to Frodo.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not so sure that it wasn't just attached to Frodo.
Okay.
I know that we're in October, and I know that it could be a little bit chillier, and it could be a little bit whatever. But I almost wonder if there were times where it was, maybe, how it is in October. Well, at least it is here in the Shire, right? I guess. So maybe we don't know what it's like just beyond the Bree country, but that temperature can rise and fall. They can have, and they had 14 days in which they're kind of experiencing different types of weather. So we kind of talked. We went back and forth. You and I did, I think, about as to what this feels like, because I thought sometimes it felt kind of irritating and not hot, not warm or anything, but not like super cold and
stuffy.
super chilly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kind of. I just think I thought of more those thick briars and that thicket that they're going through, right? And that just seems, like stuffy is a good word, I think. But when you focus in on what's happening to Frodo, those dreams, what he's seeing, they're becoming more and more clear. The daylight is becoming more and more shadow, right? It's like during the day he's having.
See, now I'm all interested. I'm looking. You're right. A lot of times it is associated to his pain or his feelings. One, there is a talk about way later a cold wind flowing down from the mountains.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Most of it is attached to how he's feeling and from the effects of that wound, which makes sense because the
It's
cold sting of death
Yeah.
or leading towards
Yeah.
that wraith world would be freezing. So that's a
Right.
great point.
I don't know.
Wow.
Just thought of
Wow.
it because we'd talked so long before the podcast started about that.
Yeah. So it's describing his pain. You're right. Deadly chill was spreading from his shoulder to his arm and side. His friends watched over him, warming him and bathing his wound. Dawn was growing in the sky, and the dell was filled with gray light when Strider at last returned. So anyway, he makes a point here to say, "Look," he cried, and stooping, he lifted from the ground a black cloak, which you said, "This was the stroke of Frodo's sword," he said. The only hurt that it did to his enemy, I fear, for it's unharmed, but all blades perish that pierce that dreadful king. Most deadly to him was the name of Elbereth. So did you say that already?
No, I did not.
Okay, so that was also significant that Frodo cried out, was it "O Elbereth Githoniel"?
Yeah.
When he made that stab, and Elbereth, yes, is the queen of the Valar and the stars.
Yeah.
So that was something that I was like, why is that significant? Why is that a big deal? Oh, okay, that he was hearkening on to using the name of one who was very, very powerful.
Yeah.
and a source of light. You know, we know what the elves think about the stars, how they honor the stars, how they love the stars, the celestial beings, and so she's the queen of the Valar.
That spoken name,
yeah,
the power of the spoken word, right, and what that could have meant to these Black Riders. They're startled by that. I think that alone is what he's saying. That's
what saved them.
That impact was like, is there something else going on here? Were we too hasty in approaching here?
That's great. That's a great point.
You know, this company seems a little bit more. And I have to go back and take back what I said last week, which was that I was kind of thinking that, you know, I just threw out just for giggles, right? The idea that maybe there was another force at play, putting the ring, helping Frodo put the ring on.
Yeah.
You know, but again, Frodo right here immediately is kind of bitter and kind of regrets the foolishness or the way in which he calls it. He reproached himself for weakness of will. You know, for now he perceived that putting on the ring, he obeyed not his own desire, but the commanding wish of his enemies.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
You know, and so
when at the moment he didn't necessarily, you know, I mean, yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I just think it's nice to have that clarity.
Yeah.
You know,
after the fact, you're right.
To see him kind of regretting that, and that's a teachable moment for him moving forward.
Yeah.
Huge regret.
Yeah.
You know. So, but I don't know that the outcome would have been much different. Do you? Putting the ring on or not putting the ring on? I mean, I don't. I think they then know
I don't
it's
know.
there 100%.
Right. He. Yeah, that's true. That's true. As opposed to maybe being harder to see. He put a, and then also I guess he identified that hey, I do have the ring.
Exactly.
I'm the one hobbit.
Yeah, I'm the one you're looking for. Now,
right.
They can call back whoever may have been in Crick Hollow or elsewhere. They can call their full number.
You're right. Stop looking around there. You're right. So it brought it more to a head, I guess, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, because I think they're even planning here. The cool piece about this chapter, and I have to talk about it in its entirety a little bit, right?
I mean, you have to. You can't. Right?
You really. I mean, we're going to keep going piece by piece here, but to think that in Rivendell there were a few who had the power to ride against
there you go.
these riders, right?
Yeah.
And they're set out.
Yeah.
I think, these riders can feel, number one, they were drawn to the presence of the ring in a sense, right? The will of the Hobbit seems to kind of mask it in a sense, though. It seems to be, good cover, I guess, right? It's not having as large of an effect on them as maybe it would have someone else.
Which is incredible to think about.
Which is, it is. And so if you think about that and these riders that are coming out of Rivendell, now the Black Riders are, I think, regrouping, and we see at the end of this, they had a pretty good indication of where the ring is going. Where's the only house here, before the Misty Mountains that this thing might end up going?
You're right.
And
they were able to sit back and go, okay,
they gained
where are they going to
a little bit?
Yep, they did.
And I think they were, they had two things going for them, right? They had pierced Frodo, and so they had their mark on him, right?
That's
and
true.
They were, and that was the slow
like
death,
a little homing beacon almost,
right? And also a way in which, by the way, at the end they could control him.
Yeah,
that blew my mind.
Yeah, pretty amazing, huh?
I couldn't believe that. I kind of forgot the power in which the Witch King has over him at this point.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Which and the wound. It's amazing too how Strider says, few have the skill to heal this wound.
Yeah.
Right.
He mentions that.
Lost my freaking place
several times. I mean,
he does. Oh, dang it! Sorry.
Well, it's okay. We can talk a little bit about how he's those leaves, right? He throws them into boiling water. He's bathing his shoulder.
Yeah.
We talked about the fragrance, right?
Yeah.
We'll get back to that because Glorfindel says it as well.
Yeah.
That was my.
And that's leading us to somebody else.
Exactly. And so those were two. When those two characters have something, when they're worried about they don't have the skill to heal something like this.
Right.
Wow.
And this is also jumping ahead, but how about later on? Sorry, when we see Strider and how Frodo catches a glimpse of him and can tell that he's tired from the sag of his shoulders.
Yes.
And that's you're right. That's a moment you're like, whoa,
we're in trouble.
Yeah, this is bad news bears, man. This is serious. We've gone from there have been moments of true peril previously, but nothing like this. This is unmatched from what we've seen so far. So our characters they're up against it, man. This is
Ooh. So let's back up just a little bit and let's talk about how they basically, to get Frodo, they head down. They have to cross the road, I believe. Do they not? From Weathertop? Yes, they do. If you pull up your map, we'll try to link a map into.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We found a pretty neat map that just kind of shows the course in which they take to Rivendell. and this trip from Weathertop, up through the Troll Shaws and then across the last bridge and the Bruin and Ford.
It does help to see it like that too, laid out.
Yeah, it does. But I envision some of these things differently. I'll say that, But they end up going south of the road, and they have to cross it. They're very quick to get across it. But they had to divide up their pack, right? Frodo cannot travel. He cannot walk. So they're going to put him on Bill.
Can't move his arm.
Yeah, exactly. So they had to, divide up everything. And I think there's an interesting part in here because they were talking about Bill Ferny's treatment of the pony, right? So the poor beast had improved wonderfully. It already seemed fatter and stronger and had begun to show an affection, for its new master.
Especially for Sam.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool, too? Because it's sort of like an interesting contrast. Like, they've never been unhappier. They've never been in a stickier situation. And poor Bill the Pony, this is like a holiday for him.
He's loving it.
He's like, all right, cool. At least I'm not back with old Ferny.
Right.
Like,
Isn't that
poor
different?
Animal, man.
The perspective, though.
Yeah,
right?
It is. It's all perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're right. That's great. I had a heart next to it, and I was going to pass right by it.
Yeah.
Thanks for slowing us down, Ez.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so they let's see here.
Getting across on the road here.
Yeah, southern direction, right? They made their way slowly and cautiously around the southwestern slopes of the hill. Came in a little while to the edge of the road. There was no sign of the riders.
Except this.
You're right, exactly. And so they have to. Oh, the two cries. That's right.
Two cries. A cold voice calling and a cold voice answering.
Right.
Trembling, they sprang forward and made for the thickets that lay ahead. I mean, they'd probably think another attack. Here you go. The land before them slipped away southwards, but it was wild and pathless. So they're getting into some cheerless land, as they call it. Gloomy, slow. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, because the bushes are stunted. The trees, there's dense patches with wide barren spaces. But so we kind of go back and forth into a lot of different terrain here, right? Let me read a little bit of this here. The grass was scanty, coarse, gray. The leaves in the thicket were faded and falling. It was a cheerless land, and their journey was slow and gloomy, right, as you said. So they're trudging along. Frodo's heart was grieved because he's watching his companions, his company, and as you said, Strider seems tired, right?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yet since the far cry, they had seen and heard no sign that the enemy had marked their flight or followed them.
Yeah.
They dreaded the dark hours, and they kept watch in pairs at night, expecting at any time to see black shapes stalking in the gray night, dimly lit by the cloud-veiled moon. They saw nothing. They heard no sound but the sigh of withering leaves and grass. Okay. And we do kind of, imagine it being sort of like, as you're going through that thicket, imagine that thicket being almost like shoulder high. Yeah. That's the way I imagined it, right? As it being very dense and thick. You could almost, if you're elevated, you could see someone moving through the thicket.
Right.
But if you're looking just from the road out into it, I think they do talk about it at parts sloping down towards the south.
Yeah.
And so you might be at an elevated position from the road, because if you consider Weathertop is north of the road, right? And then you consider it would the terrain would slope downwards a little bit, right, as you go south.
And especially as you're headed
for a time.
Yeah, especially as you're headed towards the rivers as well.
Yes, exactly, because it's that valley, right, where all that water is coming, in there, right? So I just kind of imagine that they'd be looking in there, and they're still under pretty good cover. And again, I think it's not that the Black Riders couldn't have found them. They are game planning here. They don't necessarily understand who's in their company. Yeah. They've been startled. They've been resisted against, and they're scared to death because of the name that was called out.
It's exactly right, and I didn't put that together, but you're right. That is what caused them to retreat. Was the significance of that name. Yeah,
it has to be, right?
And it's just so, that's Frodo's amazing.
He is.
Frodo is
He's
amazing.
Learned more, and he knows more than we realize. He and Sam both, their proximity to Bilbo, I think is we can't underestimate that. We can't overlook that, right? It's significant.
Absolutely.
So
great point.
Okay, let's see what else we can dive into here. So at the end of the fifth day, the ground began to once more rise slowly out of the wide, shallow valley into which they had descended. So we had talked about them descending for a little bit, right? And on that fifth day, so it kind of just jumps ahead. You can imagine they're marching through this for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. Pretty quickly we're going through,
Right.
Yeah, almost a week.
And if you look at the map that we shared, again, you can kind of see where at the bottom of this trek south, they start to slightly move, whether it be northeast, right?
Yep.
You can kind of see them start to kind of climb this slope. They saw far ahead a huddling of wooded hills, right? Way below them, they could see the road. Ooh, wait a second.
We're getting towards the last bridge, aren't we?
That's right. They've gone up back. Yeah, we are almost to the last bridge. That would be why. Dang. So you can see from that took them all the way across there.
That's a lot. Yeah, it's a great distance.
But not much happens there. Okay, so cool, interesting.
Well, that's the other thing too. That like it says, it's interesting because they don't really feel the presence anymore, right? Except for Frodo, who has this pain that ebbs and flows, but keeps him pretty, obviously incapacitated. But it's almost like that paranoia from earlier. You know what I mean? Like from chapters 3, 4, that paranoia has come back of why aren't we sensing them? Why aren't they attacking?
Yeah.
You know, they don't know. Like we're hypothesizing that they're surveilling, they're maybe tracking them from a distance, they're trying to figure out where they're going to head, but they don't know that. They're constantly waiting for, so every time they cross the road, it's with the greatest of caution. They're coming up on the last bridge that we see the caution here again especially from Strider saying, look, we can't just run across this thing. I got to go check it out first and go beyond it to make sure it's fine.
Right.
Oh my gosh, nuts.
This is so good, actually, this part here. And you can see what's been at work. So again, the more I look at this map, it kind of really, it helps my understanding of these riders that were sent out from Rivendell have been out for a while.
Yeah.
I think when they encounter Glorfindel, he's been out for 9 days.
Yeah.
So as they approach the last bridge, they have to get back on the road for a little bit. I think that makes everybody nervous. So they're actually on the road for just a little bit, just a hair before the bridge, right? And let's see here. So they start talking about the Trollfells, right, north of Rivendell, right? Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm afraid we must go back to the road here for a while, said Strider. We have now come to the river Horwell that the elves. What do they call that?
Methithel?
Okay. Yeah.
Methithel. Tell us what you think the name is in the if you know exactly the pronunciation.
Dude, I love that.
Methithel.
I looked up. I saw. This is a random sidebar here, but I found someone who was like speaking like the Elvish tongue.
Have you looked up David Sallow? He's a Tolkien linguist expert. They used him for the films.
Oh, really?
Like if they needed to know how to pronounce certain words, they'd go to him, and he's like he specializes in Elvish.
Yeah, I'll have to find this video again and see if I can share it with you because it's insane. I love it.
I mean, let's start our own YouTube channel of pronunciations.
Oh my gosh!
You reckon that'd go pretty well?
Pronunciations with Ez would be so bad. Oh my gosh, that'd be crazy. Okay, so anyways, they're crossing, right, and they actually what I found interesting, man, is that like as they're on this bridge, I almost imagine that it arcs maybe pretty high.
Yeah. Because
that's a fairly large, the Horwell, right? That's a larger river than the Loudwater. It looks like it just from it seems that way, anyways.
Yep.
And so as they are going over top of that, they can actually see beyond, and Sam is actually inquiring as to what's that other river. Ways
that's
ahead.
right.
He can almost see it. Maybe down in some way he could see it. And so, let's see. Strider answered, that is the Loudwater, right? The Bruinen of Rivendell. The roads run along the edge of the hills for many miles from the bridge to the ford of Bruinen. But I have not yet thought how we shall cross that water.
I love this line.
Okay.
One river at a time.
I
think it's great.
Yeah. Interesting.
He says again, we shall be fortunate indeed if we do not find the last bridge held against us. So he's anticipating the Black Riders are there
to be here,
guarding that bridge. It makes sense, right? Because that's a bottleneck you have to go through.
Yeah.
To head in the direction they want to head to.
Do you know what though?
I didn't even catch it the first time. Like he's preparing for. Okay, we're going to see him there. We're going to find another way around, or confront them, or what.
We'd have to think here, but okay. So
give it to me, Daddy. Come on.
So okay, I'm gonna jump ahead for just a sec. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Next day, early in the morning, they came down again to the borders of the road. Sam and Strider went forward, but they found no sign of any travelers or riders.
Yeah.
Here, under the shadow of the hills, there had been some rain, as we've been listening to. Strider judged that it had fallen 2 days before and had washed away all footprints, right? So no horseman had passed since then, as far as he could see.
Yeah.
Now, they find, and I have to find it, I think it's just down here a little ways, where they find the elf stone. Do you see that in here? That little bit here?
Yeah, I have it.
Let's see. Oh, here we go.
Hang on a second.
He held out his hand and showed a single pale green jewel. I found it in the mud in the middle of the bridge, he said. Okay, so it's a barrel. It's an elf stone, right? Whether it was set there or let fall by chance, I cannot say, but it brings me hope.
Yep.
I would take it as a sign that we may pass the bridge, but beyond that, I dare not keep to the road without some clearer token. So I believe Glorfindel, if I'm right,
Yeah.
pushed them back across that bridge.
Yeah.
Maybe he had the same thought,
Yeah.
that it could be held against them, and it needs to remain clear so that his friends, if they are back that far, could make it across.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think
Wouldn't that
about
be crazy? And then the elf stone is the sign that, yes, I've been here,
Yep.
and
And
you
it's
can
clear to
cross.
go.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Instead
You're
of-
absolutely right.
Instead of pushing north or something where he
Yeah.
was, where Strider was unsure about
right,
the terrain and the territory and risking something else.
and maybe even just making his way towards where he thought they may, where he thought Strider and the hobbits might be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, he could have been clearing the way, or it could have just been a happy accident that he was going that way anyway.
Yeah.
Drew
Well-
them away, and then it opened it up.
And I think Glorfindel, because of his power, I think he was the one who was given the charge to take the road. So we
Yeah.
don't really get his path or his perspective. He's up and down this road patrolling.
Can you imagine that?
Dude, it's so
See, and
it is so awesome.
I understand why they wanted to incorporate Arwen
Me
into
too,
this.
and I love
it makes
that.
sense. But this would have just been, I don't know. It would have been awesome to see in the
Dude.
films. And also, like, just on a side note, the Green Stone or the Elf Stones, they totally missed out on something that New Zealand naturally has. They have this New Zealand jade
Yeah.
that the Maori call Panamu. I've got a pendant. Sarah and I both have pendants that we bought for one another, and anyway, it's got a really cool like significance to New Zealand. They could have used this like, and also later on we find Strider also gets a green elf stone, and it would have been a cool natural thing that could have tied into Kiwi culture, and or Maori culture really, that was kind of missed out on. So
Yeah.
bummer
Yeah.
bummer
Yeah.
there. But yeah, so anyway, you're right. They find this token, and the path is it gives him hope. And if Aragorn's got or Strider has hope, we're in a good way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so they make their way across, right? Let's see. Oh, okay. So yeah, we are past the river, so we can. What's our next little ambient sound? At once, they win again. They cross the bridge in safety, right? Okay, so let's move past that. The hobbits were glad to leave the cheerless land and the perilous road behind them. This was a new country. It seemed threatening. And unfriendly, and maybe that's more because of the position that they're in, I think. And again, because I think back to Bilbo and his trek through the Hobbit, and I think it's a little unexpected what like coming across the trolls where they do. I mean, I think they were warned, but
You know what else would be unexpected is if we just started a podcast.
wow, gosh,
It would just kind of come out of nowhere.
It definitely did come out of
It'd be
nowhere.
great if we did it about Lord of the Rings. I don't know.
Yeah, let's
but
do
we'd
it.
have to get the name spot on.
Spot on, right?
Perfect.
Okay.
I don't know if you have any ideas.
Yeah. Let's see. One River at a Time podcast.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
It's like one chapter at a time too. Kind of, I like that.
Yeah.
Men of Elfstone podcast.
Wow.
That sort of ties into my rugby club. I don't know if we could use that. There's
Yeah.
a copyright there.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
Let's see. Noon Sun podcast.
Oh, the Noon Sun. Yeah. All right. Ride Your Asphalloth podcast.
That's great. That's a good one.
Tongue in cheek there.
Yeah. Hobbit Coin podcast.
Bitcoin.
Hobbit coin. Oh my gosh.
We talked
dude.
about what currency they use in Middle Earth, and maybe it's Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, we're getting there, man. We're getting close.
Closer.
Yeah.
Someday? Soon.
We'll start it, I promise.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see here. Let's move on. Oh, so who lives in this land, right?
Yeah.
They're getting across the bridge and they're looking into this new land, right? And who built these towers? Is this troll country?
Mm-hmm.
No, said Strider. Trolls do not build. No one lives in this land. Men once dwelt here ages ago, but none remain now. All right. They became an evil people, as legend tells, right? So they fall under the shadow of Angmar,
Yeah.
right? But all were destroyed in the war that brought the North Kingdom to its end. Wow. So there's some of that history
again,
flat out, which again we're going to try to get into in our Patreon series.
Well, as we're making our way through here, we see a lot of. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember reading a lot about seeing old. Is that what you're talking about? Like seeing the old stones,
Yeah.
and the fallen fortresses, and like remnants of days gone by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And here's the neat little line. So they're asking him, Strider, about these things, right? And he talks about how these are not things that he, being the heir, would forget, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then they ask, have you ever been to Rivendell? And he says, I have, right? I dwelt there once, and I still return when I may. There my heart is.
There my heart is.
Yeah. But it is not my fate to sit in peace, even in the fair house of Elrond.
Amazing.
That's not his fate.
His task is clear. He knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty amazing, man.
All right. The hills now begin to kind of, shut them in here. So they get into some more interesting terrain. And this is where I had talked earlier about Bill kind of guiding them through,
Yes.
some of this tricky terrain. Okay. So the hobbits grew very weary. They advanced slowly, for they had to pick their way through a pathless country, encumbered by fallen trees, tumbled rocks. As long as they could avoid climbing for Frodo's sake,
they would.
They would, right? Yeah, because it was, in fact, difficult. It was hard to kind of find their way through these narrow dales, right? They had been 2 days in this country when the weather turned wet. Okay, so the wind began to blow steadily out of the west and pour the water on the distant seas of the dark heads of the hills in fine, drenching rain. And I just kind of, think about that. It's they've had so many different types of weather, and things, and I love this because we've said it before. We get bogged down in some of this detail, but I love it. Tolkien does a really good job to paint this picture as to where we are.
Yeah.
And again, it's good for us because this is that last leg of the first part to their journey here.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that
Even the weather seems kind of set against them.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So now again, they are north of the road here. They're in basically they are kind of in the Trollshaws, right? That's where they're at, I believe. Yeah. So they're in this terrain. Now they see other ancient ruins and things like that, but they definitely are going to come across something here really interesting a couple of days into their journey here. So
yeah, even more direct history. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, okay. So now Strider, though, this is where we had talked earlier, right? The next day the hills rose higher and higher, steeper and steeper, and they were forced to turn away northward out of their course. Strider seemed to be getting anxious. They're nearly 10 days out from Weathertop. Okay, so they're 10 days out. We've got about 4 days left, okay? And he's getting anxious. Their stock of provisions was beginning to run low. It went on raining. And so he's anxious, and this is where you had said earlier, right? As Frodo looks on and looks over to his companions, they are more and more burdened down. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, they camp in this stony little shelf with a rock wall behind them, in which there was a shallow cave. It was just kind of like scoop into the cliff.
Yeah.
Right. And again, as you had said, Frodo is restless. He is cold. He's achy. It's dreary. you know. And at this point is the time where I think, yeah, can you imagine how much more worse that would feel, right?
Yeah.
He's already cold and the life is draining from him.
Actually,
and this weather is beating down on him.
Not like being stabbed by a mortal blade, but I actually have like it's my left shoulder as well.
Yeah.
Like my shoulder has popped out of place, maybe like probably so many times I should have gone to see someone already. But it started way back in middle school, dude. This is a little side story here, but some history for us.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we're sitting around the campfire and middle of the troll saws. You tell a story. So I was going up for a rebound and went up with my left arm, and someone came from behind me with both their arms and pulled back. And my shoulder, my arm and the socket and the ball popped out from one another.
Good.
That's what it felt like. So ever since then, especially starting to play rugby.
Yeah.
Since I've started to play rugby, it's popped out numerous times. And then after it's injured, it's weak. The muscle around it is weakened. And so like most recently, a couple weeks ago, it popped out again going for a tackle. Then I'm at home and I'm doing normal stuff and it will pop out and hurt so bad. And then after it pops out time and time again like that, it lingers. Like I'll be in bed and I can't sleep with my arm in certain ways without it aching. Just this nagging, dull. It's no way to even for it to be satisfied or relieved pain that's always there.
Dang.
And I always think about Frodo. I'm like, okay, it wasn't a mortal blade on Weathertop, but
still,
it hurts just as bad. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting how it's, the weather would affect it, just like a lot of people's injuries. The weather, certain weather makes it even worse. So
absolutely,
it's something that we can. I don't know. He's putting it in a way that we can relate to it. We've all had those injuries that nag us and will be there for life. Yeah. And just the physical burden and how it affects everything. And so this is not only physical. It's also, it's his soul is being frozen over and being it's something he's having to fight internally as well to not succumb to that call to the Black Riders. So it's twofold.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more difficult and complex.
Yeah. So for a while they're here, and we're right at the point where they basically discovered that they've gone too far north. Okay, they've actually been climbing
Strider's
north.
getting a little nervous.
He's nervous. He
doesn't
actually
know this country as well.
He climbs out of one of these dales. That's and he goes up and he kind of sees this. So the next morning they wake. The rain has basically tapered off at the night. It has sort of stopped. The clouds are thick. But they're breaking. There's pale strips of, blue appearing. The wind is shifting, and we're getting some this, I guess, wind is coming in and out of the, this troll country, right?
He had another dream though.
Oh, okay.
Can we read about that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
He so that night he had a dream. The cold and wet made his wound more painful. We read about that. Lay tossing and turning and listening fearfully to the stealthy night noises. Wind in the chinks of rocks, water dripping, a crack. Then the sudden rattling fall of a loosened stone. So some disturbing sounds even in the night.
Right.
It would make you toss and turn. Is that a rider? What's going on? He felt that black shapes were advancing to smother him. But when he sat up, he saw nothing but the back of Strider sitting hunched up, smoking his pipe and watching. So maybe even some mind games going on too. Mm-hmm. Feeling like these shadows are advancing again and then there's nothing. He lay down again and passed into an uneasy dream in which he walked on the grass in his garden in the Shire. But it seemed faint and dim, less clear than the tall black shadows that stood looking over the hedge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a lot of things. Like I think this ties to something way at the end of all three books.
Mm-hmm.
I think it also obviously parallels what's going on with him right now. He's not fully alive, honestly, is he?
No.
He's passing into another realm, dimension of being, and so his dreams are obviously mimicking that as well. It's just I didn't realize how much this guy dreams and the importance of his dreams.
Yeah, for sure.
It's amazing. I'm sorry. Anyway.
No, that's
back
fine.
to it.
That's totally fine. So they actually reach a point where they have to climb right? Frodo is going to have to actually dismount and then climb.
And they're very stressed out about that.
Right. Yeah, and so he's exhausted, right? But he does it. He threw himself down, laid on the ground, shivering. His left arm was lifeless. This is after he makes it, right? The trees and rocks about him seemed shadowy and dim. And they're kind of saying, we can't go any further. They're really concerned. It's been too much for Frodo.
Yeah.
And they're anxious, right? Do you think they will be able to cure him in Rivendell if we get there? And that's when they kind of talk about who they're foreshadowing, or they're hinting at who would have the power to heal him, right? And things. It's beyond Strider's, skill again, right?
Right.
Okay.
Which is unsettling. So, yeah.
Is that you over there? Is that your...
That's my foot.
Sorry. Trying to get some leg room here,
I liked it.
All right. So, what else we have here?
Gosh, there's so much going on.
There's so many nights and days. So, again...
I know.
Night was cold upon the high ridge. They lit a small fire down under the gnarled roots of the old pine. So this is another night, right? The wind is blowing, chill through the pass. They make some camp here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I don't know. The other part, I don't think. Just looking back here, getting a little lost in the wilderness. Right?
I feel like we're right there with them because there's so much stuff I don't want to. Oh my gosh, gloss over. There's all kinds of. So they're also starting to see gnarled roots of an old pine that hung over a shallow pit. It looked as if stone had once been quarried here. So we're also seeing that that rock had been taken out to build some of these things like walls and old ruins of fortresses that they're heading into as well.
Yeah,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is. Okay, so where should we go next here? I'm kind of,
lost in the forest.
I'm lost as to where you are.
Oh, sorry, I was right before what you just read. They huddled together in the wind. The wind blew chill through the pass. Is that where you are? No, you're ahead of me.
No idea. I think I'm a little ahead of you. I don't.
Ezra,
to wait up.
Where are you?
Glorfindel.
He has another half dream.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. So he lay in a half dream, right? Imagining that endless dark wings were sweeping above him, right? So he's going again. These dreams are getting worse and worse, and he's having more and more of them. And as the night,
what do you think those dark wings are?
The dark wings?
Yeah.
Well, just because I've read, I think it's the Nazgul, right?
Yeah, it's the winged Nazgul.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was symbolic or
I think he's becoming more and more connected.
Yes.
To them in their minds,
and so he's seeing the future almost.
Well, or even just like who their nature.
Yeah.
Other things that they ride.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And even the way they move, they do kind of swoop in.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the morning dawns, right, bright and fair, right. Mm-hmm. The air was clean, and the light pale and clear, in a rain-washed sky, right. Their hearts are kind of encouraged.
Yeah, they're feeling better.
Yeah.
That's right. The weather is starting to improve.
And they're hoping that, that they're looking for some sun, right, to kind of warm their limbs a little bit, right? Let's see. Some way ahead, Strider had caught a glimpse of Loudwater again. So he takes Merry up with him to kind of look and to find their way, and they do. He says, "We must make for the road again. We cannot hope to find a path through these hills. Whatever danger may beset it, the road is our way to the ford."
Yeah.
And so you'll see they actually are on the road for quite a bit once they get going here, but they've got to make south again to get to the road, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So, all right. Here we go. This is the part that I liked about Bill Ferny's pony, right? I was going to read this. Bill Ferny's pony. So, okay, they climbed slowly down to the southern side of the ridge, but the way was much easier than they had expected, for the slope was far less steep on this side. And before long, Frodo was able to ride again. Bill Ferny's poor old pony was developing an unexpected talent for picking out a path, and for sparing its rider as many jolts as possible. Yep. So the spirits are kind of rising again, right? And Frodo's feeling a little bit better too in the morning light, which is good. So Pippin's a little bit ahead, right? And he sees the path. He said there's a path here, right? Mm-hmm. And so they've been looking for that. They're making their way through here. And now this is where I don't know if it's Pippin and Merry.
Imagine that, Pippin finding a path.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting.
Well, he's got some keen eyes.
Yeah.
He's looking.
He's no Merry.
I'm Team Pippin a little bit sometimes.
Oh,
I like Pippin, but
I like to laugh at him.
yeah, I'm actually kind of shocked. I am shocked as like Mary, just as how much he knew and stuff. I'm very shocked as we read through some of this. But anyways, they move on ahead here, and I don't know is Mary with him here? Yeah, I think so. And they come like rushing back, right? They go on ahead. Mm-hmm. And isn't this where they come rushing back and they're sure that they've seen
Yeah. They
a troll?
Well, they think there's big. They don't know it's trolls, right?
Well, they come back saying that there is. That surely this is a troll hole if ever I've seen one, right?
Okay, yeah.
So they're talking about that first, and just basically how they got to get out of there kind of quick. And Strider says there's no need. It is certainly a troll hole, but it seems to have been long forsaken.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? I don't think we need to be afraid. So then they kind of move forward here, and Pippin goes on ahead. Down in the clearing in the woods, not far below, we got a sight of them through the tree trunk. So Pippin seems to be out in front of the crew here a little bit, right? And he comes back, and again, as you can hear right now, it's daytime, right? Birds are kind of chirping. There's a bird's nest in the back of this so-called troll, right? And behind its left ear, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And Strider knows it's daytime.
Yeah.
It's daylight. These can't be, if they are trolls, then let's go have a look at them,
right?
Because they've turned to stone.
Yep. Get up, old stone.
Yeah. So and these are the trolls that Bilbo encountered.
Yep. Pretty cool, huh?
With Thorn and company. So
and this is big because it helps Frodo's spirits revive even more.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not only the humor of the situation, right? That Pippin should have known that these trolls obviously can't be out in the daylight. Strider even scolds him, says, you are forgetting not only your family history, but all you have ever known about trolls. It's broad daylight with a bright sun, and yet you come back trying to scare me with a tale of live trolls waiting for us in this glade. In any case, you might have noticed that one of them has, there you go, old bird's nest behind its ear. That would be a most unusual ornament for a live troll. So Frodo laughs. They all feel a little bit better. So not only, feeling encouragement, knowing that he's, anytime he gets, those overlaps with old Bilbo, it makes him feel better. Mm-hmm. But also just the humor of the situation too. It makes him, helps take him out of that shadow world a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so after they've kind of figured out that they all kind of laugh, right?
Yeah.
They're all kind of, spirits felt, they're a little revived to kind of see one of Bilbo's first successful adventures.
Yeah.
So that's heartening, right? So we can do this type of thing. Like Bilbo was here, he made it through. He's been there and back again.
Right.
We can do it as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty neat.
They stop and have lunch there. I also think it's so interesting that they eat lunch under trolls that were turned to stone arguing on how to eat the dwarves. Yeah. It's very, very funny.
Yeah. So they need a song, right? It's been a while since they've had a song or some story or some poetry.
That's true.
So this is
so cool.
Sam. They kind of lean on Sam here. I don't know about that, but how would this suit? And he's ready to kind of sing this really long.
I like how it
it's
says
like a chant / song or poetry.
And there's goofy, like almost Seuss language. I love how he says how Tolkien points out. It just describes how he sings the song, standing up with his hands behind his back as if he was at school. It's just so cool. You can visualize Sam, and Sean Astin did such a good job of that, like in the movies, and those same kind of mannerisms.
Right. Yeah. You got this one?
Why don't you take it? You want to take it?
Wow. I don't even know. So we won't sing the whole thing, but it's not even really a song.
How would you? It's more
kind of a chant,
right,
so you can chant
like
with me. So, Troll sat alone on a seat of stone, and munched and mumbled a bare old bone. For many a year he had gnarled it near, for meat was hard to come by. Done by, gum by, in a cave in the hill he dwelt alone, and meat was hard to come by. There's actually a tune.
You got it, man.
There's actually I think they say it's they mention that he began to sing it in an old tune. I don't necessarily. I think people have gone through and figured out the tune. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but so if people who are listening know a better tune, to obviously
that's pretty good. Are you gonna finish it?
No, I can't.
I want to know if the next one, if Tom with the big boots on are the yellow boots. That's what I want to know.
Oh, up came Tom with his big boots on. Said he to the troll, Pray what is yon? For it looks like the shining oh my nuncle Tim as should be laying in a graveyard. Paveyard. Yeah.
Just seeing a shin bone.
I don't even know what
my
is,
nuncle.
Oh, shin.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Shin bone of my nuncle.
Of my
Is
nuncle.
a nuncle a term?
Of my nuncle
Is that a
Tim.
British thing?
Yeah. Oh man. So
It's cool.
is Tom though the Tom that we're thinking of?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I was really hoping. I the big boots. I'm like, nah, I don't think it is.
Well, he mentions, said Tom, I don't see why the likes of thee,
Yeah.
without a kin, or axon leaving should go making free,
Yeah.
with the shank or the shin
of
of
my father's kin.
So hand the old bone over.
Rover.
Trover.
Though dead he be, it belongs to he. So hand the old bone over.
There it is.
I mean, you were doing it.
Something like that.
That's
I don't
great.
know.
That's an awkward one.
It's an awkward
Sam's
one,
gotta handle
but it's also like he has so many like abbreviated like slang. It's more written.
Boner makes it.
Boner makes it in there. That's for sure.
Donor boner.
Yeah, but you know how like Tolkien's kind of established amongst the hobbits, and he's like this class system, and Sam is sort of like Frodo is his master, right? And he works for him.
Right.
He does make his language a little bit in this, a little bit more. What do you call that?
Less formal.
Yeah.
More agrarian.
Yeah. And so I thought that was interesting, and I think it's neat. If we skip to the end, then and we move on. Let's see. They actually somewhere Frodo talks about that he's learning a lot about Sam Gamgee on this journey.
Yeah, this was
right?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was first a conspirator, now he's a jester.
Yep.
He'll end up becoming a wizard or a warrior.
Yeah.
I hope not, but I think they figured out that it's of Sam's own making.
Yeah.
He came up with it in his own head.
Yep, I've never heard it before, and Sam said it's out of. Well, Sam mutters something inaudible, like he's kind of embarrassed, and Frodo's the one who said it's out of his own head, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there it is.
Just so cool, man.
Yeah,
and it also shows how well Frodo knows Sam.
Yeah,
better than Pippin, better than Merry.
Yeah,
they're so close. That's also a little insight.
Yeah, it's
that
awesome.
Brings pretty cool.
Okay, let's move on here a little bit.
So they follow the very track that Gandalf and old Bilbo had taken on in the dwarves all those years before. Isn't it interesting that Thorin isn't mentioned by name? I thought that was kind of curious. Gandalf, Bilbo, and the dwarves.
Okay, yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know. It was interesting. Maybe because his fate wasn't so honorable. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought that was weird. I was like, okay. Well, he's a big deal in The Hobbit, obviously.
Gotcha.
He's a king, and just nothing here. It's interesting because we're dealing with all this history and all these names of people we don't know,
right?
And we know Thorin was there,
right? Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of interesting. That's all.
That is, another interesting tidbit here, a connection back to The Hobbit is they talk about Bilbo's treasure. They find the stone where it should be buried and things, and he gave it away because it was got by robbers.
Yeah,
and so
didn't come by it honestly.
Yeah,
that's right.
For a burglar,
that's right.
That's something.
So there you go. There goes that whole myth that he's got, gold, jewels.
He does
buried in his tunnels.
Well, yeah, okay, buried.
JOOLS.
Yeah. Okay. So now they get back. Once they move on, right? Let's move into this a little bit. They get down to the road. They were beginning to look out of place, or they were beginning to look out for a place off the road where they could camp for the night. So they're on the road now.
Yep.
Right. And then as they're going on the road,
get a little start.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
They get a little clippity clap.
Yeah.
Clippity clap. Right.
Yep.
Okay. And then faintly, they catch this dim ringing, small little tingling bells.
Yeah.
Yep. And that doesn't match what they've heard before.
No, it doesn't.
Okay?
No, it doesn't. The ringing of small bells.
It doesn't sound like a Black Rider's horse.
Mm-mm.
So, and Strider. So they're once they hear that, right? They scramble off the road. I imagine them just north of the road. I don't know if it was north or south, but just kind of hanging out there. And Strider starts to kind of smile. He's a little bit. This is good. This is good to him.
Yep.
The hobbits realize it's not a Black Rider, but they don't know what it could be.
Right.
But Strider does.
Yep.
Yep. And so he's happy to hear his, an ally coming this way. So let's see. So Strider actually runs out after he passes by to kind of meet him. You see that part there, where he kind of jumps out and he calls out to him.
It's also important too, like when So the rider's cloak streaming behind him, and his hood was thrown back. His golden hair. So we find out what he looks like here. His golden hair flowed shimmering in the wind of his speed. To Frodo it appeared that a white light was shining through the form and raiment of the rider, as if through a thin veil. And so I actually, the reason I want to point that out is because I missed that connection to the end of this chapter. I was like, well, who was that? I don't know really. And this absolutely. And I also wonder too, like, okay, maybe he is dressed in white, and that's totally fine, whatever. Or is it also we're also seeing Frodo looking at him, and we know that in that shadow world things look differently, right? And someone who is powerful and majestic would appear, I'm guessing, the way he described him.
Yeah,
I was curious, like, is he really dressed in white, or is that just how Frodo sees him?
Yeah. Well, think about this. He's going sort of in and out, right? And what he's seeing, you get this misty vision. At one point, we forgot to mention, but he's waving his hand in front of his eyes because he's losing his sight.
That's
right. And during the daylight, it's almost like he was hoping for night. He was hoping for night because it was so.
Well, that mirrors the Black Riders. The noon sun, they can't see anything, and at midnight is when they see clearest. You're right. Yeah.
Man, dude. Okay.
Wow.
So
this is one of your favorite characters bursting into the scene here. My Govanen, here he is.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
Right.
So I don't know.
Calling out in the welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, he calls out this welcome, right?
Yep.
And they speak, in Elvish.
Aina Vedui Dunadan.
Yeah.
My Govanen.
Good.
That's right.
That was
But
really
we got to practice. We got to
Good
practice.
job. I'll leave that to you, my
The
friend.
speech and clear ringing voice as well. So not only the ringing of his bells, right? And this ringing as he comes riding in, but also his voice matches that melodic sound, ringing of a voice.
Okay.
Left no doubt in their hearts. The rider was of the elven folk. If you couldn't tell from every other hint that you got, right?
Right.
Yep.
Dude, this is the best, right? Okay, so hail. Well met at last, said the elf lord to Frodo. I was sent from Rivendell to look for you. We feared that you were in danger upon the road.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is interesting how they come to this information. Then Gandalf has reached you, right?
Right.
No. Not when I had departed, which was 9 days ago, said Glorfindel, right? Elrond received news that troubled him. Some of my kindred journeying in your land beyond...
Baranduin.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. The Brandywine.
Oh, the Brandywine, yes.
Yep.
Learned that things were amiss and sent messages as swiftly as they could. They said that the Nine were abroad and that they were, and that you were astray, bearing a great burden without guidance.
Wait, is that Gildor?
Gildor is the one who sent them a message.
Sent the news. Okay, that's
saying
what I
that
thought.
the Nine were abroad and that Frodo Baggins was bearing a great
Thank
burden.
God for Gildor, man.
But dude, just the way that's worded, man, I'm telling you, like, it gives me chills when I read it. You know,
Yeah.
the Nine are abroad.
Yeah,
because
dude.
we yet don't understand
The significance.
Is this not? It's the first time that we've kind of heard the Nine.
Yeah.
I think I could be wrong.
Yeah. No,
Maybe
I think so.
But like,
yeah.
So that to me sends a chill, right? That we have this great elf lord talking about the Nine are abroad. We heard that you were bearing a great burden without guidance.
Yeah.
Gandalf was not to be found.
Yeah.
And they send out riders from Rivendell.
I know, it's
I'm
amazing.
just like,
Yeah.
this is so badass. I don't know. I mean, this conversation, I'm there. That's why, like, okay, we first started like a couple months ago. I had read all the way to the council. So I'd read book one just to get book one done.
Yep.
And I showed up like the second day for episode 2.
And I
walked in Lane's house and I was just like, Glorfindel! It's going on a shirt. I'm going to put it on a shirt.
It's got
I just love this guy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So anyways, okay, so it was they're talking more, here we go. There are few in Rivendell that can ride openly against the Nine.
Mm-hmm.
But such as there were, Elrond sent out north, west, and south. Mm-hmm. It was thought that you might turn far aside to avoid pursuit and become lost in the wilderness. So it was my lot to take the road, and I came to the bridge right there at the...
There you go.
And so he left that token nigh 7 days ago.
Yeah.
So, again, I think they send Glorfindel on the road because he's the best of the best.
Right.
And so I wanted to read a little bit. Do you have... we don't often go to the Gateway, but, I mean, some stuff on Glorfindel.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just a little bit about him, maybe, kind of get some history.
Yeah, let me do that real quick.
Because I didn't know all this stuff, and this is, again, why Lane and I want to dive into some of this Middle-earth history.
Right.
Because this guy right here is all I needed.
Big time.
All I needed was to learn more about him, and I was hooked. I'm like, we are going.
Yeah.
We're diving in deep.
So Glorfindel is one of the mightiest elves of Middle-earth. It says in the Third Age, but pretty much of all time.
Yeah.
He actually had... Sorry, no, what's buzzing there?
I think only we can hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Sorry, one of the mightiest elves in Middle-earth. He's actually... He had a return from death, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
His spirit was... revived, and he came back. So anyway, he was born in Valinor sometime during the Year of the Trees. So this is new stuff to us.
This is all, though, during the Year of the Trees. So after the great lamps were taken away, and like they still the Silmarils and things like that. So it's all around that time, with the Valor and Valinor, which is just a whole bunch of goodness that we're going to get into later.
So after the exile of the Noldor, Glorfindel's history is obscure. As a great follower of Turgon, he was appointed chief of the House of the Golden Flower, one of the 12 houses of Gondolin. So he actually saw the fall of Gondolin. Mm-hmm. He was a witness to that. During the ensuing battle on the streets, Glorfindel chose or was ordered to hold the great market from the advancing orcs.
Yeah.
Anyway, it goes on. It talks about his re-embodiment and his return. His spirit passed to the halls of Mandos, where he was waited with the spirits of the other Noldor who had died during the war against Morgoth. But because of Glorfindel's noble actions in life, his reluctance at the exile, and his furthering of the purposes of the Valar by saving Tuor and Idril, he was re-embodied after only a short time. So just like amazing stuff that you don't even realize happens in Middle-earth. Right.
He's literally sent to help Elrond. I mean, he is sent there to... They know that Sauron is out and about and that he is deceiving people. And they faced him, right? They did have the Great War, right? And where the ring was lost.
And he was and he was sent across the sea to Middle-earth by Manwë, most likely in 1600 with the Blue Wizards.
Right, I saw that. Yeah,
there you go. That's right up your alley, doggy.
But again, the Blues go far east, and I think he stays in Rivendell. He has a role to play, and so he is a boss. He's one considered to be a part of the Fellowship and stuff. And so I just kind of wanted to take a little pause and celebrate. Glorfindel. Okay,
pretty cool.
Okay, so let's move on a little bit here, and he talks about what's happening. I've searched for your trail. 2 days ago I found it. I followed it over the bridge, and today I marked where you descended from the hills again. But come, there is no time for further news. Since you are here, we must risk the peril of the road and go. The 5 are behind us, and when they find your trail upon the road, they will ride after us like the wind. Right?
Where the other 4 may be,
exactly.
I do not know.
Mm-hmm. He fears, though, that they may find the ford is already held against them.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, the same kind of anticipation that Eric or Strider had. He has that same fear, right?
He does.
And this time they're not right, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're hard put to it.
Okay.
And then Sam is kind of he has this renewed worry for Frodo. Ever since the sun began to sink, the mist before his eyes had darkened. We're talking about Frodo, and he felt that a shadow was coming between him and the faces of his friends. Now pain assailed him, and he felt cold. Again, he swayed, clutching at Sam's arm. "My master is sick and wounded," said Sam angrily. We haven't heard Sam get angry yet. But he's like, enough is enough. Here's Glorfindel. Let's get Frodo on his way.
Well, hasn't he been hearing that there could be one in Rivendell that could help us?
Absolutely.
And so Sam just
says,
what are we waiting for?
Ask
the first one I see.
Right. He can't go on riding after nightfall. He needs rest. So Glorfindel caught Frodo as he sank to the ground. So Frodo's passing out. And taking him gently in his arms, he looked in his face with grave anxiety. Briefly, Strider told of the attack on the camp under Weathertop and of the deadly knife. He drew out the hilt, which he kept, and handed it to the elf. Glorfindel shuddered as he took it. Now, this is a powerful dude. When he takes this and he shudders, that's an indication this is bad news. But he looked intently at it. "There are evil things written on this hilt," he said. though maybe your eyes cannot see them. Very interesting. Go ahead.
No, yeah, he tells him to keep it, right? And
Yep.
and he says that, alas, the wounds of this weapon are beyond my skill. He hasn't even looked at the wound. He just sees the weapon and knows that it's beyond his skill. I will do what I can, right? But that we have to hurry now.
Right.
We have to hurry. And I think this is interesting. When he searches for the wound and he touches it, almost like a little bit of it felt good for Frodo. It felt good that this elf lord was touching him, and that heat, that light, that energy was working its own magic against the evil that that wound was causing.
A little warmth crept down from his shoulder to his hand, and the pain grew easier.
Yeah.
The dusk of evening seemed to grow lighter about him, as if a cloud had been withdrawn. Yeah, that's some amazing power. He saw his friends' faces more clearly again, and a measure of new hope and strength returned. So just that little, you're right, just that little, I didn't catch that, just that little touch is, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's time to move on, right? He says, Glorfindel says it's time for you. You can ride my horse.
Yep.
And it's super, and it's important that he does.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So Frodo doesn't want to, right? Because he doesn't want to leave his friends behind and things like that. But Glorfindel says it is, and I love that Glorfindel has the wisdom to say that you and with the ring that you
They're not
bear
after us,
right, is what is keeping all of us in peril.
Yeah.
So you have.
If you want to help us,
right?
Go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Going on ahead
And
will
yourself.
help us.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, Frodo decides. Okay, he presses on.
I love it.
And,
it says he had no answer. Frodo's like, yeah, okay, got a good point.
Yeah.
And not much I can say. Time for me to go.
I think the only other thing here, as we push to the ford, Glorfindel gives them a good drink of this like little liquor, right, from his silver-studded flask.
It reminds me of the stuff that Gildor.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely,
Yeah.
it does. And they get a good kind of energy and things. So yeah, I don't know. Let's see. So after they've rested less than 5 hours, they took to the road again. Glorfindel is still urging them on and stuff. I would just unplug it.
Is that white lightning?
Something's going on. Yeah, not worth. Still don't know what that is. We got too much technology. What would Tolkien say here?
Tolkien would be so disappointed.
There's so much technology, and it's making all sorts of crazy sounds and noises for us anyways. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but we apologize. So, okay.
It's the Black Riders.
Yeah, it's the Black Riders. They're getting
a lot of sniffing.
Okay, so as they're still working their way towards the ford, right? The hobbits were still weary. They set out again early the next morning. There were still many miles yet to go between them and the ford. They hobbled forward at the best pace that they could manage. Our peril will be greatest just ere we reach the river, Glorfindel says, right? For my heart warns me the pursuit is now swift behind us, and other dangers may be waiting by the ford.
Yep.
Okay. So let's see. They are hurrying forward, and they're basically out of nowhere. Is when the riders kind of jump out after him, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So which is crazy. So wow, Lane's really running the show over there. What in the world is going on?
I'm trying to sync up our loud water. I can't get our loud water to come through.
Oh my goodness, man. Oh, that's what you're doing. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, man.
It'll be worth it.
Okay. So there was still an echo, as they're okay. Let me get to where they actually pop out here, right? So the road's running down. In the late afternoon, they came to a place where the road went slowly under the dark shadow of tall pine trees, and then plunged into a deep cutting with steep, moist walls of red stone. All right. On the further side was a steep brown bank threaded by a winding path, and behind that the tall mountains climbed, shoulder above shoulder, and peak beyond peak into the fading sky. Mm-hmm. There was a still echo as the following feet in the cutting behind them, a rushing noise as if the wind were rising and pouring through the branches of the pines. One moment, Glorfindel turned and listened. Then he sprang forward with a loud cry. "Fly!" he said. "Fly! The enemy is upon us." Mm-hmm. Right, and so he knows right away, time to get the heck out of there.
Yep.
And he's telling Frodo to ride forward. Just ride on ahead. Right.
Go.
Ride on. He mentions it many times. Now,
so crazy what happens next, man.
Something that's interesting here is that Frodo, for some reason, they seem to sit upon their great steeds like threatening statues upon the hill. So they're out there. We can now see them. Suddenly he knew in his own heart that they were silently commanding him to wait.
Yeah, he feels a strange reluctance.
Right.
That seizes him. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so Glorfindel telling him to go doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
They're working against Glorfindel.
So who does he have to talk to?
His horse.
And the importance of animals. That's the thing I love about Tolkien, man.
Right.
Like he makes these creatures are just as important as the humans, the elves, the hobbits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuralim Asfaloth. Nuralim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Asfaloth is the name of his horse, right? Asfaloth, right? Yep. Yeah. Super cool. And this horse is great, and it does. It takes off, right? At
a like
blistering pace.
As fast as the wind.
Right.
Yeah.
And it could outpace all of the Black Riders.
Yep.
Easily. Right? So it's those 5 is moving past pretty quickly. Now,
isn't it crazy how quickly he looks back and in one moment he sees his friends and the next they're gone.
Yeah.
Like that's how fast he's moving.
Right, exactly. Now as he looks at them, he could see them clearly now. They appeared to have
this was interesting.
Cast aside their hoods and their black cloaks. They're robed in white and gray. I think that's just because he's gone beyond the veil, right?
The shadow.
And he's their swords are out naked with pale hands and helms on their heads. Their cold eyes glittered. Yeah. Right? They called to him with fell voices. Yeah. Man, some scary stuff. But now Frodo resists. Even clear up until the end, he kind of draws his own sword and resists them. Right. So let's see. He thought no longer the sword came. Okay, he shut his eyes and clung to the horse's mane. The wind whistled in his ears, and the bells upon the harness rang wild and shrill. The breath of deadly cold pierced him like a spear, as with the last spurt, right, like a flash of white fire. The elf horse, speeding as if on wings, passed right before the face of the foremost rider.
So he could feel his breath.
Yeah.
That's how close they were.
Right.
Now
I don't really get exactly how. Maybe I missed it, but the part where there are 5 behind and then there are 4 in front, I thought right there is where he passes by them. Were they actually ahead of him at the ford? Because that's where we are, right? Yeah. So I don't really know, but
I don't know if did they take another path and cut ahead somehow. That's what I had in my mind. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. What to take or if you guys are listening, can kind of fill us in on some of that. That'd be great. Frodo heard the splash of water. It foamed about his feet. He felt the quick heave and surge as the horse left the river and struggled up the stony path. So he's crossed.
Yep.
Correct.
There's a steep bank. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the riders kind of hesitate here, don't they? They hesitate, but not for long. They're still trying to actually tell him to stop, wait, come back to us.
And do they? Maybe this is what it is. Maybe they hesitate because this is they're crossing a border here, right? Maybe that's what it is. They're crossing a border, and across this river is where is it's elven territory.
Yeah.
And so you're going in, because I was kind of confused about that before. In the movies, it always made me think, like, are they afraid of water too? But no, we talked about that. They're not afraid of water. They go into the water.
They actually end up going into the water.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but rivers are often boundaries. So is this river a boundary into the elven lands of
which they're hesitating?
Right.
We're
kind of technically going into not Rivendell the city, but the realm of Rivendell when we cross here.
Right.
Like this is heavy stuff.
And
you got to
also,
be ready to
they
battle.
were sent on a mission of secrecy, I think, a little bit too.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
I think there's a bit of that, right? But
yep.
What I think is interesting too is, as he's kind of Frodo, like in this last great effort, he sat upright and he brandishes his sword. He says, "Go back to the land of Mordor and follow me no more." Right?
Yeah.
Let's see. The riders halted, but Frodo had not the power of Bombadil. Another mention of Bombadil.
Yeah, kind of interesting. So Bombadil has the power over the Black Riders. I don't know.
His enemies actually laugh at him.
Yeah.
In this harsh and like chilling laughter, and they're calling to him, "Come back to us." Yeah. And it's like a spell-like thing. Like they're calling back to him, right? Yeah. The ring, they cry, right?
To Mordor we will take you.
Right.
Yeah.
But by Elbereth and Luthien the Fair, Frodo, with the last effort, lifting up his sword, "You shall have neither the ring nor me." Then the leader, this is crazy to me, who was now half across the ford, stood up, menacing in his stirrups, and raised up his hand. Frodo was stricken dumb.
Couldn't talk.
His hand is extended. I almost imagine like this power.
Oh yeah.
He's extended
like
towards
spell.
him, and his tongue is actually like cleaving to the top of his mouth. He could not speak anymore.
How crazy is that, dude?
Right, because they wanted to silence the spoken word.
Right.
They were done with that.
Right.
Because words have power in this world.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to silence him, and they were able to do that.
His sword also breaks and falls out of his shaking hand.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now, the best part, right?
Yep.
So at that moment, there came a roaring
and
a
it's
rushing.
interesting because the foremost rider actually sets foot on the shore.
Yeah. Yep.
So he clears the river.
He's
on.
there.
It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, this is the climax right here, baby.
Well, and they're
And Frodo kind of catches this like as he's like overcome,
drifting.
He's like passing out almost,
Right.
and he's catching this in these snapshots almost.
Yeah. So, dimly Frodo saw that the river below them, was starting to rise. Right. It's rising. Right. He sees then through all of that, white flames seem to Frodo to flicker on their crests.
Yeah.
And he half fancied that he saw amid the water white riders upon white horses with frothing manes.
Yeah.
The three riders that were still in the midst of the ford were overwhelmed. They disappeared, buried suddenly under the angry foam. Those that were behind grew back in dismay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still some back on the other side.
Yeah.
They see three overtaken because of the basically it was what we saw in the show in the movies. Those galloping horses, right? This power that was coming through in the river, and then it's the lights behind.
Yeah,
it's this powerful light
Yeah.
that Frodo sees pushing the Black Riders into the river, and the flames and the torches.
This white figure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like that white figure, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Who I think is Glorfindel.
Gotta be.
Right,
You're
unleashing his power.
Right.
And the light that he carries with him. He's an elf lord.
And the small shadowy forms, obviously.
Yeah,
hobbits.
and they had torches. I think they had like fire because that had worked before, and they were using fire to their advantage, and they had pushed the riders in.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So, they were filled with madness, and they leaped forward in terror, and they bore the riders into the rushing flood. He heard and saw. So he felt himself falling, and the roaring and the confusion seemed to rise and engulf him together with his enemies. He heard and he saw no more.
Book one over.
Book one over. So,
man,
yeah, guys.
I mean, I'm reading that for the first time. I don't know if Frodo's dead, but I'm seriously worried about him.
Yeah,
seriously worried about him.
Right. Yeah, me too.
I mean, they do. How long do they have to get to Rivendell?
Yeah.
I mean, is it a far away still, or will they make it in time?
Will they make it in time?
Yeah. Will they?
So, I mean, guys, I don't know that I don't know. It wasn't that first half of the chapter not as like exciting. You learn a little bit.
Well, you almost think like okay, we have this huge encounter with the Black Riders. It's gonna all the way, but there's this huge drawback.
Right. Yeah.
They draw back. They go back into the shadows, and they're kind of left in this paranoia again. When will they strike? What's going to happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Reassessing the situation.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, crazy, man.
So, but essentially, they're defeated there.
Yep.
Air quote, defeated.
Right. So
and next week we'll be looking at many meetings, right? Which is so much fun. So I don't know, man. You get any other? I think we've gone over the cool connections.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
I think we definitely stopped and took time to go over the cool connections.
We did right out of the gate. Yeah. No, there's so much to unpack in that chapter. So much happens. You've got got all the details about geographically where they are.
Yeah.
What kind of countryside they're going through. You have Frodo battling the sickness.
Right.
You've got first time we see Strider kind of aloof and vulnerable at times. Not aloof, but vulnerable. Maybe uncertain. He seems so confident this entire time, right?
Yeah.
And here he is. He's like, well, we can't go too far north because I don't know those lands. And the hobbits got to be thinking, what, dude? What? Well, we surely don't. We've got some more history lessons, both ancient and then also kind of more recent in terms of Bilbo's adventure. Still no sign of Gandalf. Hope that he might still be around, but when we interact with the Glorfindel, we realize Haven't heard or seen him in over a week. So
Yeah.
and then just drawing closer to Rivendell and having this encounter with the Black Riders that parallels. I mean, it goes beyond what happened on Weathertop.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you said, that whole the leader who we know is the Witch King.
Yeah,
always coming forward and then like taking his speech away,
dude.
Unbelievable. And that's just a hint ahead of the power that we're going to see him.
Yeah.
And realizing that this dude is, and these guys are not to be taken lightly. They're serious. They go beyond like these hoods just sniffing around for the hobbits. Their
power.
scary.
I mean, I think the power is increasing, right?
Yeah.
It's growing every day.
And the boldness,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you said, their willingness to maybe not stay as secretive anymore. Because they're target. They're honed in on their target more, right?
Yeah.
They can see it clearly. What's the point of being so secretive? Like it's right here in front of us. Maybe we can. Yeah. I don't know. It's wow. But then also like even more of these forces of light kind of manifesting and us seeing more clearly who they are, right? And then the powers of Rivendell, like, well, this Elrond must be a pretty swell guy, and we know, I'm sure Frodo knows all the stories about him from Bilbo, right? And Bilbo's time in Rivendell. So
right,
but yeah, so cool.
Great little, into book one.
Yeah, and then even Strider getting to go back to the place that he loves. That one little line that gets lost in all this stuff. That's where my heart is. I'd love to linger there, and now he's going to have some time there, so we'll get to see.
I tell you what, man, this is good because I'm actually excited that we've started this like back to week type of thing because these next couple chapters are I'm very fond of, very fond of. I really like these. They're some of my favorites. Yeah, so, all right, guys, I think it's time to dive into the Bywater Post.
Good Lord.
Woo.
Still snowed under, right?
Oh, it is.
Man.
It is. And please send these to anunexpectedpod@gmail.com. Yeah. We've got, a plethora coming in through the email, which has been great. So thank you, everyone who responded and sent those or copied and pasted those from the Facebook page and sent those to us. So we really appreciate that. That's a lot of help, I tell you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's see. We get one from Sean.
From Sean.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You want to dive into this
I'll
one?
read that.
Tackle it?
Hello, all. Man, this feels like no time at all since I started listening to the podcast. In fact, from sending this message today, it will have been 3 days. Holy cow. Since I started listening to this wholly unexpected podcast.
Wow.
Now, every adventure is nothing with many greetings. Now, every adventure is nothing with many greetings, some sadness, and an ounce of Westfarthing courage. In fact, that's where this Tolkien story begins.
Let's go.
Let's hear it. I was about 6 when the Fellowship VHS arrived through the mail, and no one would give me the context for the film or even mentioned the books. Lord of the Rings started as a mystery fantasy blip for me that developed into obsessive reading and finding new appreciation for Norse mythology. Yeah, which was a huge influence for Tolkien. This is cool. From that point forward, Lord of the Rings cultivated in me a passion for art, design, and finding inspiration for painting and illustration in John Howe, Alan Lee, and in Games Workshop's miniatures range for both Lord of the Rings and Warhammer. This is sweet, dude. Mm-hmm. I think maybe he and Warhammer Time, Jake Hodgson, should get together.
Yeah.
However, the most important points I took from the trilogy and even The Hobbit was the bond it forged with my grandparents that raised me. My motherly grandma that passed away last July was a massive fan of the BBC radio dramatization. Wow. Awesome. Adored Gollum and Saruman in the films, and I even got her to read The Hobbit in the year before she passed. Every time I think of her, I'd like to think that she's in a better place now, much like the rolling hills of the Shire. My grandfather used to read to me from the trilogy when I was little, creating some amazing memories, that is so cool, that weren't forgotten and hilarious when trying to correct his Elvish.
Yes.
The movies and gaming franchises even managed to help in fairly depressive teenage years as a connecting bridge to friends and role-playing game groups.
Yeah.
Personally, the works of Tolkien went beyond the page and influenced some of the best experiences I could ever ask for in life. It helped through some of the almost fatally darkest moments as well, from choices of profession, friendship, life lessons, and appreciation of the arts. There is almost no other piece of fiction that empowers or uplifts like LOTR. Amen. There's a realism of the darkness and hope in the world that only a war-torn and deeply loving man like Tolkien could have crafted, from the idyllic country life of the hobbits to the lingering darkness of figures like Sauron and Saruman with their monstrous hordes. It's fantasy that's written with the best intentions, and it comes across as being deeply human in its complicated characters and philosophies when brought up. For example, Frodo and Gandalf's Gollum conversation in Chapter 3. Yeah, amazing, man. Rounding off, there's only so many times you can watch video essays or the extended box sets of the films. Only so much time you can spend by yourself rereading the trilogy every 1 to 3 years to find new perspectives, and I found the podcast on iTunes during that time. Following the unexpected pod is this year's structure of my trilogy reread, and excited to go on this journey with the guys in the group. No stranger to read-along podcasts thanks to the Outlander podcast. Shout out to Ginger and Summer. And you guys are right up there with them in terms of the high quality of the sound, group structure, and how personable you both are. It's amazing to see how far this podcast has developed in a short span of time, and much like the books, it's going to be a long but deeply interesting adventure. Cheers to that, my brother. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your time. Hopefully, I haven't been too dour and been worried about how much to add or say. Kind regards, Sean, 4th Aerolingus. Beautiful message. Yeah. Thank you for that, Sean. That's amazing story. Cool connection to your grandma and grandpa.
Yeah.
And your grandfather. Sorry. Yeah. Amazing, man. And he's so right. He's so right. Like the way this story transcends just being a story. How it does. We've talked about it countless times, and people who've written to Bywater Post, same thing. Like just how it can influence your life, can affect your life.
Well, man, I think it's like we're all more connected than we realize. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's honest to God something I've been learning as I've done the podcast and the book club.
Yeah.
You know, and learning from different people and just like, I don't know, man. It's people share where they're at. Like, I don't know. It's I don't know. I know we've talked about Tolkien and like the technology and things like that, but I think you and I talked about like the use of it, and he foresaw, I think, the abuse of it, and so it's sort of like we've been able to use it in a way that is very positive, you know, and uplifting and stuff like that. And so that's why I've always said this to Lane, and I'll say it time and time again to, you know, in the group and just in our lives in general. I like to reward positivity with positivity, you know, and I just think. This is awesome. This is such a good, uplifting, like Tolkien story, and it lands with me, you know. So I really, so thanks, Sean. That's
thank you, Sean.
Yeah, that's so epic. You know, hey, we were actually going to do one from your dad, but I'm starting to think that next week is Father's Day.
Father's Day. Doing both next week. You're gonna talk to your dad.
I'm gonna talk to my dad, and you know, kind of get us a couple of different clips that we could maybe you know, listen to. And then kind of go over that for Father's Day. So there's a little plug, by the way. Don't forget.
Next week
is Father's Day. So, you know, but yeah, and make sure, you know, guys, send those again to anunexpectedpod@gmail.com. I kid you not. You know, if we get a couple shorter ones, we do a couple. If we get a longer one like this, you know, we just do kind of 1 or 2.
Yep.
But we want plenty. We'd love to have one for every single show.
Love to make them an entire episodes.
We would, you know, and eventually we might even do something like you know, at the 1 year anniversary or something, and go back and read them and put them all together in some document or something like that. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Kind of gather the stories of the fellowship that we're kind of forging here. So
beautiful stuff.
Man, I love it. I love the book club. I love what we're doing. You know, I didn't realize before we started this, no joke, like I never really paid close attention to like that the fellowship is 2 books, you know?
Yep.
And so this does feel like a nice little closure to that
stopping point.
Yeah. Good stuff. But you know, it's
breath.
A breath, right? Yeah. This rest point, right?
Yep.
So I'm excited, and it's cool that it worked out with the transition of us, you know, in the growth of our podcast.
That's true.
So
that's true. We're taking rest in Rivendell, and we're coming out stronger, aren't we?
Yeah.
How about some strawberries with cream?
Yeah, what do you got?
You down as?
Yeah.
Frodo rode upon a noble steed, Asphalloth, this chapter. That's got us thinking, if you could ride one creature from Middle-earth, it could be specific or just in general, what or who would it be, and where would you go?
Wow, this is great.
Doesn't have to be a place in Middle-earth. It could be somewhere in Earth.
Do you know? I actually really do like Bill. I know he's right there, and it's an easy to go to.
Awesome.
I know. It's
Yeah.
People might think, oh, that's an easy one to go to, but for some reason, I just really enjoy that character. I'll go ahead and say it. Like that's Bill becomes a part of this, journey, this great adventure.
Yeah.
And I think about the ripple effect that Bill has had on all of this.
Yeah.
Finding those, helping preserve Frodo's strength.
Yep.
By just avoiding those jolts, man,
Yep.
so that he could rise up and sort of,
Yeah. You could almost say he's the 10th member, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Where would you go with him?
where would I go with him? I mean, if I could go anywhere, I would just up and down the Shire country.
Yeah.
I would stay right there.
Yeah.
And it's such a long
Yeah.
way. Does it not feel like it's such a long ways away right now?
Oh, it's insane.
Doesn't it though?
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
it feels like 6 months ago.
dude, it's like we're literally on this journey. This is
Yeah.
what's so when you get lost in this.
I know.
I'm pleading with people who are
I forgot
listening to-
Gandalf even existed.
I know, man.
I know.
Just get lost in this. We don't have Gandalf. Gandalf's not an option
Nope,
right now.
He's out.
He's out.
He might be dead.
I'm
for all we
clinging.
know.
I'm right now. I'm clinging to Glorfindel like no one's business.
Yep.
And I'm so happy that he's there.
I'm hugging
You know?
Strider. But yeah, I can see your affinity for Glorfindel.
I'm Sam.
Sure.
And Sam.
true.
Sam
He
likes the elves. So I'm like,
he likes some
"Ugh,"
Elfie. That's
you know?
right.
So,
I would love to have a beer with Bill Fernie. I mean, not Bill Fernie. Bill the Pony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go have a beer with Bill the Pony and then go beat up Bill Fernie.
Sure.
I think I'd pick for something to ride on. I think I'd pick Shadowfax,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
and I'd want to take Shadowfax to Kroger. Go get the groceries just real quick. It'd be the fastest. It'd be like faster than ClickList. So
Can you imagine how
it'd be
happy
pretty
Sarah
cool.
would be?
Oh my gosh, dude! It'd be like, oh, Lane, we need, and it'd be a beep beep back.
Yep.
That was it. Yeah. Actually took longer to find the stuff, but even he got me through there pretty quickly. Knows
Right.
what he's going for. Knows where the goat's milk is. I don't know how.
Thanks, Shadowfax. Gosh.
Yeah. So let us know. Who would you decide? There's a lot. We both picked, horses or ponies, but there's lots of different creatures out there. Could have
Yeah.
picked the eagles.
Yeah, for sure.
Gwahir.
Yeah.
Maybe hop on the back of a warg.
Sure.
Maybe I don't know, one of the wereworms
Yeah.
in the Hobbit. It'd be kind of wild, dirty
Yeah.
ride.
Smog.
Smog.
Could you imagine?
Can you? That'd be hot. I'd have to go in my bikini.
Yeah.
Hey,
for
Smog,
sure.
could you not breathe on me? You're making me pass out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, cool, man. Wow.
That's good stuff. Well, it's time for Share the Load, which we kind of already talked about at the beginning. We don't really need to plug that again.
we already talked about it, and we don't like to, honestly, guys, we don't like to mention it a whole lot, and we always feel kind of, I don't know, like just, like it's there. We want to make people aware of it, and I think it's it's fun. It makes it a lot of fun for us to go on there and do that extra content and stuff. And, part of this too, when we do Share the Load, the more people we do get on Patreon and in the Facebook group and things like that, it is encouraging. I'll tell you that much. It encourages Lane and I, and we respond to it because that's you guys being so gracious and so kind and helping support us and helping us upgrade things. And we want to get for example, like we've talked about maybe doing an insulated, type of, what's the memory, like the foam. We're trying to foam out a
Ezra's
room
really
here.
worried about the echoes. We don't want any echoes.
Well, I just we have plans that we have actual,
Absolutely,
because we plan on doing this for years and years and years.
Yes, that's the goal.
We want to give you guys some merch. We want you guys to be a part of the show. There's eventually like a tier there in which you guys can kind of guide us through Patreon. Like you can vote on things. So there are perks there. That's all I'll say about it. We're done with
I like that.
All right.
Okay, time for some weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells.
Weekly.
That was hard to say.
Weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells. Say
WWE, www. Wow. Weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight.
Try it one more time.
Weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells.
Let me try.
That's not bad.
Let me try it. Weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells.
That was fast.
Oh, I think I beat you.
Weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells. Farewells. Farewells.
I got you. I'm
Say
gonna go
farewell.
even faster.
You're champ. You're the champ, dude.
Hold on, one more. I got faster. I got it.
See it.
Weekly well wishes, formerly fortnight farewells. Oh my gosh, I love this though. I love
It's like
this.
Shadowfax, man. We want to thank you for stepping off the road with us. Our next episode will be digging deep into Chapter 13 or Chapter 1 of Book 2, Many Meetings.
If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, or leave a comment, or send us a Shadowfax.
He's the Lord of all communication, after all. We'll see you on or no. Mm-hmm. See you next week.
Yep.
And remember, Frodo lives.
Only's behind the world ahead, and there are many paths to tread in shadow to the edge of night, until the stars are all alight. Mist and shadow, cloud and shade, all shall